Ponytails podcast. Here we go. I do my best with that sound. Welcome, everyone. Andres Gamboa here. I'm the host of the Ponytails podcast. Thank you for being here. We're excited for another episode that is now well into July, and we are so excited that you're with us. If this is your first episode, welcome. Let me tell you guys a little bit about the show and what we do here. Then I have some announcements, and then we can get rolling with our guest today. We have Quintin Roberts in the house. Let's go. Whoop, whoop. So I am excited to speak with him and see what he's up to. So first of all, this is the Ponytails podcast. We interview people who sold books door to door with a company called Southwestern Advantage. And now we're not associated with the company in any way. The only way that we're related in any shape or form is that we all sold books. We all sold books for them for 80 hours a week during college, Monday through Saturday, from 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. like maniacs. And from here, we get to hear all the cool stories about what people who did this program are up to now and what their experience was like. We've heard all the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's a lot of fun to be able to share those stories with you guys. So thank you for being here. Again, if this is your first episode and you want to hear more, go check us out. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you're listening on YouTube. Otherwise, if you're on the other one, go check us out on the other one. So leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you guys subscribe for more episodes. And then, of course, follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We are all over the place or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Now, a couple of quick shout outs. We have partners that we have found through who are all alumni or in some way, shape, or form are connected to the alumni community of Southwestern Advantage's internship program. And what we started doing with them is they are super successful in their businesses currently. And we had them share a little bit about some wisdom that they've learned or picked up along the years after or since they were in Southwestern. So we start out with Metcher, who is one of my good friends, and he's working with Southwestern Consulting, obviously doing a lot of coaching. He's coaching, people who are earning well into the 106 figures or 7 figures. So any nugget of wisdom that he shares with us is valuable. One of the things that he wanted to share with you guys is that is the following, and I quote, "We're really good at avoiding things that are hard if we're not intentional about seeing hard things as good and helpful. Doing one more rep and pushing yourself even 1% more every day prevents you from letting yourself off the hook of growth. Making that choice a habit makes it easier, and you end up overcoming your biggest challenges." Solid wisdom from Will. Of course, if you want to learn a little bit more from him, make sure you guys click below. You can click leave us a comment as well, and we can put you in touch with either how you can get Will's coaching or how you can work with Will out there. But we'll be giving out these tips every episode going forward, just to kind of give you guys some wisdom of the trade. We move over to Elevate Wellness. These guys are in the fitness business, and we've been working with them since December last year, getting great results. And so if you have ever questions about fitness, if you're not sure about your nutrition plan, you kind of want to get into better shape, maybe get the body that you want, Seth and Zane at Elevate Wellness are the guys to go to. They've invested over 30 grand. That's $30,000 into the resources and the training that allowed them to help you get the answers that you want for yourself and your health, as well as keeping you accountable. When a lot of people leave their fitness up to just the way things are, Seth and Zane help you identify the core principles of wellness that allow you to elevate your body, your mind, and your life. So if you guys want a little bit on pricing, just get in touch with them in general for a consultation. Click the link in our episode bio and you can get in touch with them. That should be below if you guys scroll up on the description. And then a little bit from our jockey and our guest actually too, Quintin Roberts. Here's the little bit of wisdom that he gave us. This is actually right from one of our derby meetings that we have every other Friday. So Nick Taverdi, he's the one that spearheads that, and it's an awesome forum with all of our jockeys, and they share businesses and life tips like these. And so this is a little bit from what he had to say about overcoming challenges. So this is Quintin. He said, "You can change the neurochemistry of your brain by reading somebody else's thoughts." Think about that. That's crazy. So read books. Shout out to The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. If we can use others and more resilient people to shape our thoughts, we'll become more resilient ourselves. And so on that note, let me introduce our guest for today. That's Cardinal Senior Benefits, and he is one of the main folks over in that company. Quintin Roberts sold for 7 summers from 2005 to 2011 from the University of Georgia, and sold with the Eagle Blitz organization. Cool. He's originally from Norcross, Georgia, but some fun facts and some cool stats about Quintin that I think are pretty awesome to share. So his biggest week was 970 units, just shy of Mort's. Dang it. But that's more than I ever sold in a week. It's pretty badass. Not a bad paycheck for the week. He was a 3-time winner of the Spencer Hayes Award with a 14-person team, a 17-person team, and a 13-person team. So he knows a little bit about recruiting and how to get teams to be effective. Obviously, those are some of the things I hope to talk about with him on the show. So without further ado, let me bring him onto the screen for you guys. Quintin Roberts. How's it going, brother?
And it's going good. How are you, Andres?
Dude, I'm about to crack open some brew and have a drink with you to chat about life in Southwestern stuff. Is that cool?
I couldn't even see the label.
Here we go. Listen, so I drink too much probably because of the show, but it's this Topo Chico margarita hard seltzer, and I have to do this because it's low on calories, and I'm trying to like get ready for Bizzler, which by the way, if you guys haven't heard, Bizzler's coming up. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the news and announcements throughout the show. Let me pour this into an ice cold glass here. Cheers, yeah, and then we'll jump into the show. How's that?
That sounds good, man. If I'd have known you were drinking those, Andres, I think I have the exact same Topo Chico flavor in my mini fridge right now. I'm at the break. I might have to grab one just to prove I'm not full of it.
Let's do it. I mean, they're good. They're actually good. Low on sugar, decent on alcohol. It's like only 4.5% alcohol, but you know they do the job. They do the job. So, cheers to you, my friend. Excited to talk with you and learn a little bit more about your Southwestern days and what you're up to. I mean, I know a little bit about what you're up to, obviously, but
yeah. No, I'm starting off with the Fireball. Everybody that knows me knows that Fireball's it's my thing.
You're a Fireball drinker.
The first time I had it, my buddy from a buddy I grew up actually playing soccer with, and then we were roommates in college. He was working out in Park City, Utah, and my wife went out to go visit him. Me and my wife went out there to go ski, snowboard, and he was like working at a bar, and he's like, "Try this," and I was like, "Oh, that is good." And I've been drinking Fireball ever since. Just Fireball on ice with a little bit of water.
I gotta make a confession. I love Fireball normally. And by the way, we're not sponsored by Fireball, but we could be. But my 21st birthday, I had 26 drinks within the 24 hours. It was a lot of drinking. Of course, you turn 21, your friends take you out, and I was doing well. I was holding them back. I have a high tolerance, luckily for me. Oh, well, unluckily because it's expensive to go out, but I was doing well, so well. And then we hit Fireball shots. And after that, I just felt it go down, and it all came back up. And so I think it ruined it for me. It ruined Fireball for me. But I feel like people have that with this specific liquor. You know, it's the one that made you cry.
That's right.
That you just it's kind of like Southwestern. You know, it made you cry. So you look back on it, you're like, it was good. It was fun, but glad it's over.
That's tequila for me. I don't know if it was something in college, but I took it one time, and like anytime I even smell tequila, it's like I can feel the bile coming up through my throat. So
now you see, tequila tequila right here is my heart. Mexicans. I mean, I'm Colombian all the way, except for my heart is probably Mexican because I love me some tequila, man. Just like water. It goes. I've had too much tequila on the show. With Pedro, we had so much tequila on his episode back in May in the Cinco de Mayo. It was brutal.
That was a good episode. That was like a marathon episode too. It was like 4 hours or something.
Yeah, we broke a record. He likes to break records, that man. And boy, did he. But it was good throughout, I feel like, you know. It
was good.
Dads, we cried. It was crazy.
Yeah, I got to watch. Me and my wife were like, because my wife recruited Pedro. And so we were like fired up to watch it. And so we got the kids down, and I think the episode started at like 7:30. By the time we got the kids down, it was like 9:30 or so when we turned it on. And it was crazy. It was like 10:30, and we looked, and the time was still moving, and it was 11, and the time was still moving. It was like 11:15, and we're like, and we were 2 hours behind, I think. And we're like, we're going to have to finish this another day. So I listened to like the first 2 hours day one, and then the second 2 hours like the next day or whatever. So I had to go to sleep. You guys were champs though, staying up late.
Yeah, we were working hard. But here's the thing. That's the thing about Ponytails podcast is it's bite-sized slang. You don't just come in here for, if you want that, go to the Action Catalyst. You know, if you want the quick, if you want the gold nuggets, go there. Great show. Whenever they have Southwestern people on there, fantastic. But if you want like the gritty nitty like details of all the good and all the bad, it's a slow burn.
That's where you're at.
That's right. 15-minute commute there and back over the week. You're set. You're listening to the whole episode, so it's all good. So, but speaking of Pedro and kind of like what you do, I feel like that's a good segue into what you're up to now. So you left Southwestern in 2011. It's been over 10 years. I always like to start with, hey, catch us up on what you've been up to since. It could be as detailed or as brief as you wish, but fill us in on how you got from, all right, see you later, Mark Rao, or whatever, do you ever do his name was, to now I'm on Ponytails talking about Cardinal.
Yeah, so I finished up my 7th summer, was the summer of 2011, and we'll probably get into it later, but I was planning on going back for an 8th summer, and my wife was basically like, "What are you doing?" So we may get into that a little bit later on, but that ended up being my last summer. And I looked at family heritage. I looked at a couple other things, but ultimately I actually wanted to try a startup. So I worked with Third Home, which is, I don't know if it's still a sister company or not. And I actually got to work with Julio. I think he's one of your sponsors, right, at EnLight.Energy.
Yeah.
He was an Eagle Blitz guy. I worked with him at Third Home for about, I don't know, 7 or 8 months. It ended up not being the best fit. And then I left there and I worked with Family Heritage. I think I started there like October, November of 2012. And then, I was with Family Heritage for 6 years. It was a great experience. I think I made more money at Family Heritage my first 2 months than I did like 7 or 8 months at Third Home. And
Wow.
I kind of just got burnt out with Family Heritage. Again, it was, supplemental cancer insurance. Like I said, it was a good career, was making pretty good money, but I was doing a whole lot of cold calling still. I was doing more of the residential. A lot of guys doing it now are doing like B2B. And I had been friends with Nick Dale for a while, since book selling days. And I had actually been talking with Nick, because Nick was actually at Family Heritage when I was for about 2 years. He left. I stayed there for a few more years, and I probably would have left Family Heritage maybe 2-3 years earlier, but my wife and I had kind of a plan in Houston, and we ended up starting to build a home out where we are now. So we were like building our dream home. My wife was pregnant with our second. We were going to move here. She wasn't going to have a job. It was just like not the right time to quit your job when your mortgage payment is going to like triple and your wife's not going to be working. So we moved in, got our kid in daycare, our second kid in daycare at our new home. My wife got to work in like June. I think that was of 18. And right when she went to work, I quit Family Heritage and came on board with Nick. And before I came on board, I drove up to Dallas. We're like about an hour north of San Antonio. And he's like, "Man, just come up here and follow me." I went and followed him for a day. He had spent a couple hours the day before setting up appointments. And he had like a $4,000 or a $5,000 day. And at that point, Nick was probably on like 115 to 130% contract. And so like, I literally watched him. It looked like he was like an order taker, like driving around to people's houses. I was like, this guy is like a terrible sales guy. But at the end of the day, he had written $4,000 or $5,000 in premium, which what that means is in our industry, we start like at Cardinal, we start people off at a 90 and you can work your way up to 115 just off personal sales. And you can get all the way up to 130 off your team sales. And so if somebody's doing $4,000 or $5,000 in premium in a day, that commission they're making, that 115, they're making on that 4,000.
Right.
So if he wrote 4,000 and he was on 100% contract, he'd make $4,000 and he was on 115. So whatever the math is on that, $4,600 off that. And again, it was just like, I had spent the last 6 years knocking on doors in rural areas selling, cancer insurance. And I'd had days like that, but not where you just showed up and everybody let you in, So that kind of appealed to me. And then I got started with Cardinal doing it the way Nick showed me. And within about a year and a half, I had built up a small little team and then kind of went pretty part-time in the field and full-time recruiting. And then really about this time last year, I got out of the field completely. So I haven't bought a lead for myself personally in a little over a year now. So I've been living the dream here at the house.
That's awesome. So, okay. So follow-up questions on that, because we had Pedro on here and we talked a little bit about Cardinal, but from your perspective, I'd be curious to see, because you were kind of there from like, because it was just Nick at that point, right? Like it was just him doing this, and what the biggest difference, it sounds like it was the lead generation, the like what made it so that it was so easy for him to close so many sales. Because I know you guys do like warm leads, and so I guess the first question I was going to ask is, can you talk about what that's like to go from cold calling to just like these fresh warm leads, and the differences that creates for you in the sales opportunities?
Yeah, it's funny because when I was at Family Heritage and we would hear about things like leads, it's like it's almost like when you're out Southwestern and you hear about Cutco knives or you hear about pest control or whatever. It's like, oh, that's not real. That's not good. This is the real deal. So that's kind of like when we heard about leads at Family Heritage, it was like, oh, if you buy leads, they're not really all that good. You can generate your own leads. If you buy leads, they're really old. They're not worth anything. They take a lot of time to work. They're expensive. This is just like a bunch of like all the negativity around it. And there is some negative types of leads you can buy, not negative, but just leads like that are cheaper. And in general in life, you get what you pay for. And so with Cardinal, we buy pretty expensive leads. We buy direct mail leads. So there's about a 1 to 1.5% return. What that means is if they mail out 100 of these lead cards, they're going to get about 1 to 1.5 of them back. And that's what we pay for as leads. So these are people that get something in the mail that says you may qualify for a program to assist with final expenses, yada, yada, yada. Most people probably do what you and I do when we get a piece of advertising in the mail. We just throw it in the garbage. But these people take the time to put their name, their date of birth, their age, their spouse's name, age, date of birth, their phone number, and their address, and then they put it on an envelope and mail it back in. And so like with Cardinal now, most of our agents are buying 25 to 30 of those a week. People that got it in the mail, they read it, they put their information in, put it in an envelope, mailed it in. And then our process from there is we get it from Cardinal or the lead vendor. And then we call them, we set appointments. So if you got fresh leads, it'll probably take you 2.5 hours to set up like a 10 appointment day. You'll have a 70% show. And then our top agents are, writing an application and 70-80% of the appointments that sit down with them. If you count multiple policies, it's like it's even higher closing percentage than that.
That's wild. So that's kind of like the names that are like the yellow cards that you would go to like a when you'd pass out the names or whatever the questionnaires at the lecture halls.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you want a summer internship? Most people are like, no. But every once in a while, you get like 6 or 7. Sometimes you get more, 30 kids out of a giant lecture hall to be like, I want to hear about summer internship, and then you just spend the time phoning and committing them. It's essentially that.
Yeah. So the way we think about leads with Cardinal, and the reason we buy more expensive leads is because the more expensive the lead or the more hoops that a client has to jump through to fill it out and send it in, we say that person has a higher buyer intent. And so with Cardinal, when somebody buys leads, I think company-wide with Cardinal, we close 1 out of every 4 or 5 leads we purchase. So
that's wild.
And so a part of it is obviously you got to get good on the phone with setting appointments, but it's a really pretty simple skill. I mean, if you've done phone time, recruiting, it's just not difficult. It's not a hard skill set to master. And then when you're out in the field, you inevitably have gaps of time, or you're going to have leads that don't answer the phone or they hang up when you're whatever. We will door knock those leads, but when we say door knocking, it's totally different. Imagine if you showed up at like a mom's house when you're selling books and you had like a form she had filled out talking about how much she was into education and it had her signature on there. And she could see in her own handwriting. Like that's what we're showing up to doors with, like the form that they literally filled out. And so it's like, relative to like cold calling sales with Family Heritage and Southwestern, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. But it's still sales. It's not like all of them are buying. You still have crappy days. You still have bad days. And it can be harder because you're running a business. You're purchasing leads. Whereas most 1099 jobs that people have done or have heard of, they're more like, you're doing your own prospecting. And so with Cardinal, we say you get a really good ROI on your time. So for most of our advertisements, what I try to highlight and send to you guys are the stats from the week. And what you'll notice is most of our top people in about 30 to 35 hours a week, our top people are grossing over 10K. And yes,
Yeah.
they are talented salespeople, but a lot of it is it's the Cardinal system. We have a good phone time, we have really good leads, and that's really the name of the game with final expense. You can be a talented salesperson, but if you can't get good quality leads, it's like doing sales. Most salespeople doing cold calling sales are spending 70% of their time prospecting. And when people say I don't like sales or I don't like sales, what they really mean is I don't like prospecting. They love selling, they hate prospecting.
Yeah.
So that's what leads does for you.
That's key right there, what you just said. And that's applicable to any sales job ever is the way I understood it was kind of like the questionnaires, or it's almost as if you showed up for the summer selling books and you literally had the names like on a card of a mom, and it was like their name, their address, their phone number, what grades their kids were in, and we're struggling with math, or we're struggling with history or college
Exactly.
entrance, and you're like, you just show up and you're like, hey, was this you? Yeah. And your kid sucks at math. Cool. You got 10 minutes. Like that's the units that you would sell, just on that alone, it would be bananas. So that's pretty cool. I think that's I would imagine that's a very big in the recruiting process or in the team building process. That's a very big attraction to a lot of salespeople when they come to you. It's like, hey, no cold calling.
It is. And I think I didn't even realize it myself. The way I describe it, I mean, you've sold books. Obviously, that's the good thing about the show. Everybody listening has sold books. You know that feeling you get on like a Sunday where you really can't relax because you got like 6 days worth of shit in front of you?
Yeah.
Like you want to enjoy the day, but you can't help but seeing like your impending doom in 24 hours when the alarm goes off and you're jumping in a freaking cold shower. And so when you're doing a direct sales cold calling job like Southwestern, or in my case with Family Heritage as well, you always have that degree of anxiety and in your gut and in your stomach that you're kind of dreading the week, because anytime there's unknown, you have that kind of that pit in your stomach. And so that's one thing that I didn't really expect to go away. I associated that feeling with sales, but I've never actually had that feeling since I've been at Cardinal. And the reason why is because every week I'm getting, well, at this point in time, I've got a team of guys that are out there selling. But when I was out in the field, I had fresh leads coming in every week. I had hundreds of, if not thousands of leads by the end of people that I could go knock on their door. And within 5 seconds, I was shoving a photocopy image of what they filled out in their handwriting with their signature and their face. And when you know that, when you go into a day and you go into a week knowing that, or you go into a day with 8, 9, 10 appointments, that level of anxiety is drastically reduced. It doesn't mean that you don't have a little bit of anxiety, but it's much, much, much lower. And for me, it made the job just a lot more enjoyable. I was telling my wife the other day, every morning now we drive the kids and drop them off at daycare together, and we ride back home together. And a couple of weeks ago, I was telling her, I was like, it's crazy, but I actually look forward to my job like every day, which that sounds weird or whatever, but it hasn't always been like that. And that's not a shot at Family Heritage. It was just not the right vehicle for me. And Cardinal is great for that.
Yeah, and some people feel that anxiety or whatever in different degrees, but I definitely know what you're talking about when it's like, even though you just hit, your best week, or you maybe had your best day on Saturday, you got a slew of names and you're feeling pretty good, you got good PR, even if all that's all good, there is that weird achy feeling somewhere in here where you're like, I got to knock on a door at 7:30 tomorrow and I don't have an appointment. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like you never know if that's going to be the door that like gets you kicked off your turf, which again, that's just part of the job and part of dealing with Southwestern, and you learn how to overcome fears like that, which is a good thing about it. But in the, I don't want to say real world, because the bookfield is real in its own way, but like in the big kid world, the not internship world, that's rough to do week in, week out, day in, day out. And so that's cool to know that your reps aren't feeling that anxiety to that degree anyway. That's pretty sweet. Now, I was going to ask you about this, because ever since I've known you or I've talked to you, you're a pretty humble dude, which is kind of cool to, that's a very common theme of successful people in Southwestern and after Southwestern. But I wanted to pick your brain. So you had a 14-person team, a 17-person team, and 13-person team, which is a good indicator of your leadership skills. But then you went on to Cardinal, and I know this, that you guys, since you guys started and since you joined, you guys have like doubled and tripled in growth every year, year after year. Like, and you guys are on pace this year. And I wanted to ask you, from your perspective as far as a leader or manager of a group of people who are succeeding, what are some of the keys in your mind of leadership skills, and what are some of the more tougher lessons that you've learned along the way about leadership and growing a team and kind of expanding an organization?
The first part was about humility, and like those teams that you read out, the 14, 17, and 13, those were great teams. That was the team for my 5th, 6th, and 7th summer. I sold books my first summer. My second summer, I brought one girl. She quit. My third summer, I came out and I took 9 hours so I could full-time recruit. I brought 7 in person. They all quit. I came out my 4th summer, brought one person that was an alumni referral, and they quit. So my first 9 people that I recruited all quit. It's easy to stay humble when you've been through a bunch of shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, so I learned a lot during those years. And, in terms of leadership, honestly, like I was thinking about this before the podcast, and I've always had great leaders. I've always had great mentors. And even the leaders I've had that I haven't liked, I learned a lot from them in terms of like what they did that I didn't like. Like my first manager, my first sales manager was a guy named B. Ross, a DSM. He went to University of Georgia, and he was just an awesome dude. He was my first sales manager. And I learned a ton from him. He was a funny guy. He could give an amazing presentation. He'd do his informational meetings. Dude, he would have like the entire like college kids would be standing up after his informational session, like asking for an encore. He was an incredible guy. He was super genuine. My second DSM was Wade Floyd. Wade Floyd probably taught me the most about recruiting. He was just very, very, very connected with his agents, dealers, whatever you want to call them, the students that he worked with. Whereas most DSMs are a little bit more hands-off. They're trying to keep that personal, professional level. There was no line with Wade Floyd, but that's what endeared his people to him. And then I had Mark Rao as the director. He left after my first summer, and it was just B. Ross, and then B. Ross left, and Mark Rao came back. And Mark is a tough dude, and he's got like a tough love philosophy. But he called me out when I needed to be called out. And that was really good for me. Like, cause after my 5th summer, I had the number 2 team in our division. I had a 14-man team, 13 of them finished. I ran a pretty good org where I think we had like 8 or 9 kids hit Sizzler. A lot of managers hit growth. We did really well. I won rookie OL of the year. I sold a decent amount of books that summer. And when I came into the office, like feeling high, dude, he took me down a notch. I was expecting like the praise and the glory, and he took me down for some things I didn't do right. And it was a really good lesson for me. And I was kind of pissed in the moment, but I'm really glad he did it. And then when I left Southwestern, I had a manager that I didn't like at all. He was an old book guy, and he was just kind of a scumbag. And I won't name any names or go into it, but like I kind of learned a lot from that. And then my manager or my director at Family Heritage was a guy named Dan Lehane. Dan was awesome. Everybody at Family Heritage loved Dan. He was like the most generous, the nicest guy. He sold books, I think, in the late 80s, early 90s. And everybody wanted Dan to be their sales manager because he was just so generous. And then even now, like I work with Nick and Pedro, and they're younger guys. I think of them as younger because they're my age, whereas, before, all the other guys I mentioned are 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years older than me or whatever. Yeah. But in terms of the leadership I have now, even I think you and Pedro talked about it on the call. It's all stolen goods, man. You take things from the people that are above you, and you try to incorporate them, and you try to make them your own. I mean, even me personally now, I've got a really good team, a really good organization. I really feel like my strength is more in like the management, coaching, and training. And honestly, I think the fact that I didn't make it in the superstar book until my 4th summer, I think has actually made me a much better trainer and manager, because I can relate a little bit better when people aren't doing what they could be or what they should be, or when they're capable or maybe underconfident. Like I think I'm sometimes able to connect and relate. And I probably have a lot more patience from a manager and a training standpoint than most people do. I wish I had that kind of patience with my children, but I do with the people I work with typically. So I don't know if I really answered the question on that one.
That, I mean, well, that's no, it's all good. Yeah, you did. And but just follow up on that is like, so if you were to start over, let's say for some reason you're like, you know what, I have this opportunity elsewhere. I'm going to go build my own thing. I don't know why you would do that. You're doing so well, but
Yeah.
or maybe you started something on the side and you're like, all right, we're going to start this on the side. I'm going to do this restaurant or whatever, regardless of the industry. Where would you start? How would you start? Do you start with culture? Do you start with like the goal setting? I mean, I know a lot of people would probably say that. Like, what from a leadership standpoint, what's like the number one thing you got to make sure you get down first, like the foundation?
I would say having a product that you're convicted in, or having a process you're convicted in. I think it's probably not surprising that my 5th summer was so much better recruiting wise, because I just come off a year and never being in the superstar book to being number 11 in the company and having a great year and a $30,000 check. So I think probably that conviction level helped with the recruiting. And then like with Family Heritage, I went in and out of recruiting with Family Heritage, because when you recruit people that don't do well, or in my case, I was doing well, but I just didn't really like the job. It's really hard to recruit somebody. And I didn't want to recruit with Family Heritage, because I was like, I'm going to do this, and I'll do this as long as I can. And if I can provide a good living and have a lot of time off and support my family, I'll do it. I'll do it all the time I need to, but I don't want to drag somebody else into it. And I knew I had this massive amount of experience with Southwestern that led me to be successful with Family Heritage. Well, with Family Heritage, we were kind of recruiting people off of Craigslist or whatever. These were not people with the skill set that your typical Southwestern person has. And most of the success I had in Family Heritage, team building wise, was people like, Luke Snow and Patrick Samuels, guys that had sold books that I didn't really provide a whole lot of value, because they already knew what they were doing. Like they already had a skill with it. And
Right.
so like if I were to look for an opportunity where I wanted to grow, I would want to make sure it's something that, one, I was doing myself on the personal sales wise, where I could be extremely convicted and I could see it as a standalone sales opportunity. Because eventually I'm talking with guys all day, every day now, whether it's Greta or Kiara or Jerome Checketts, a truck driver I hired that he's probably going to make 200K this year. Travis Brown, these guys that don't have the Southwestern experience. And I'm going to be talking to them day in and day out. I need to be convicted on the job that they're doing, and I need to believe that they can do it. And I kind of lost that conviction with Family Heritage, that the average person I was recruiting was going to figure it out, because they weren't figuring it out. You can only believe so much until you stop seeing results, right? And then it kind of saps that belief level. So having the right vehicle. And I think that's what, like for me, like what Cardinal has become. It's just an incredible vehicle. Yeah. What Nick and Pedro have built it's an amazing thing, from the lead system and the phone calling, the appointment setting. It's been a great experience.
Yeah, and I was going to comment on that specifically. So I've had Pedro on here, Jessica Chappell. By the way, say hi to Jessica for me. Your wife, she's awesome. She was on the air for the Mother's Day episode. We've had Sean Brifo and then Greta on the show.
Yeah,
and the one thing that they all really had in common to say was like that culture of the culture that you guys have built within that. And again, that's not to say that other companies don't have culture, before I get in trouble for somebody yelling like, "Oh, you're," no, but it just something that was very, very clear. With you guys, it was that you guys, the vibe within your company, it's like it's thumping. It's like a party. People want to be. You guys are going so fast, and everybody that's joined, people that were brand new, people that have been around for a while, all of y'all. It's been this like you guys have something really good going, and it's been going for a minute now. And so it's like building this culture around this conviction of what you guys are doing and pushing each other to grow. It just seems like it's a really solid environment, at least from the outside looking in. And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, kind of on that note, like it's similar to Southwestern. You know, when you think, did you run an organization, or were you ever an OL?
I was an AOL.
AOL. It's the same basic concept. Like as an AOL or an OL, whether you had a team or not, like your Sunday, you're PCing kids all day long, or you're taking stat calls, and you're doing it basically for free, right? Yeah. But there's just this culture within Southwestern of wanting to help and to coach others and to help others and watching other people be successful and being happy for it. And that is just not in most companies, not in most corporations. And it is in Cardinal. Like I'll pick up the phone, and I don't, like Travis Thompson, he's not in my group. He lives in Houston. And just yesterday I called him up and I said, hey, can I have this dude follow you? And he's had people follow. And I've done that a bunch of times. Guys that are in Georgia, there's a guy that works with Cardinal and another group, Lucas Holland, and he'll take people to ride along with him and take time out of his day to call them and talk to them and help people out and coach them. And it's like they're not making a penny off of it. It's taking some of their time, but they're still doing it. And these are people that aren't even in my group. And so I don't know what that is, but it's kind of like it's an indication that the culture is there. The culture is strong. At the national sales meeting, which in final expense industry, you don't really have national sales meetings typically with companies because we're a broker. So you can write policies with 100 different companies if you want. But Nick and Pedro do a national sales meeting where they'll have people in, they pay for the hotels. And they had that at Family Heritage, but Family Heritage is a captive agency where you're only writing Family Heritage products. And so that's kind of unique. I mean, he handed out, Pedro and Nick and Joe, the CFO, they handed out 2 Rolexes at the sales meeting. They just kind of came up with it on the spot. And it's like, it's not like Rolexes are culture, but it's just like, this is badass. It was a cool meeting. We had a cool sales meeting. Yeah. Everybody kind of likes each other. It's not like super politically correct, or I would have been fired like months ago. It's a badass culture. It's like Southwestern. It's just, we were able to make a lot more money.
Fair enough. Isn't that crazy? Like that the industry, especially in life insurance and like final expense, just in general in insurance, but you can make so much money. I was going to ask you about like I know how it works because I did insurance as well. I was in Primerica for a while.
Yeah, I watched the Miles Ham episode.
Yeah, you did. And it was a different product, different caterers, different people. But at the end of the day, I'm aware of how insurance works. For people who are listening who are like, how do you get 115% commission? Like, how does that work? Well, the way you were talking about this. So basically, long story short, I buy a policy and I pay $83 a month. If you take that times 12, that's $1,000 a month. Okay. A year. That's what I'm paying a year. That's your yearly premium.
Correct.
And so I'm going to continue to pay that for more than just 1 year, which is how you're able to make more than the 100% commission. That's where that comes from. So you get essentially, for the person that starts out, what is it? 90% is what you're saying, I think is what you said.
Yeah. So if somebody's got like no experience. Yeah. 90.
So you sell me that policy. I say, okay, I'll pay $83 a month. You just made $900, right? 90% of 1,000.
Yeah.
If you're starting out, right. But then if you're in that like 150% level, you just made $1,500. Yeah. Why? Because I'm going to continue to pay that for years, and the company can afford to pay you, a year and a half worth of commission, essentially is what it is. And so that's how that works. But it's bananas to think about, because when you come from Southwestern and you make 40% commission and you tell someone you're making 150, they almost don't believe you. They're like,
yeah, it's fun. How like, when with, you write your sales talk and you try to like cover objections in advance. And that's kind of what we've done, like our like recruiting script when like we're recruiting resumes or whatever, like that's built in, so we try to explain to people the way you're able to make 90, 100, 115% or whatever it is, 130%. Well, there's a couple of reasons for it, but most of these companies, they're not making, like, say for example, Columbian. When I was in the field, Columbian was the main carrier that I would use. And they know when I'm writing a policy, they're not making any money off that policy for the first couple of years, right? But they know that client's going to be on the books for 10, 15, 20, 25 years or more. And so that's kind of what they're banking on. And the other nice thing about being a broker is you work with all of these companies. Well, all of these companies, because you're a broker, these companies are competing for my business. They want my business and they want my team's business. So let's say Mutual of Omaha doesn't want to pay 100%. Like, let's say I'm get 100% with Columbian or 115%, and Mutual of Omaha wants to pay me 100%. Why would I ever place a policy with Mutual of Omaha? I can make 15% more paying with Columbian. So what that does is, competition, it just makes all of these companies are competing with each other for us, the agent's business. So it builds in some like job security, because it's like, I don't really care if Columbian goes down or Mutual of Omaha goes down or Transamerica or Oxford or America or AIG or who. It doesn't matter if somebody goes down, because somebody else is going to pop right back up, because life insurance isn't going anywhere. So you kind of create your own job security, because none of these companies have their own sales force. They're hiring it out. So they have to pay well for it. And they're planning on making money over the long haul. And it's not like these are brand new startup companies. I mean, most of these companies are 80, 100, 115 years old. I mean, they're not Southwestern old, but they're pretty old.
Yeah, that Southwestern old is like old.
That's right.
That's crazy. I had a question for you as far as like when looking back at your time with Cardinal, because you seem super. Every time I talk to you, on air, off air, like just for people who are listening, this is how you talk about Cardinal, regardless. And it's kind of cool to see someone excited about their job like this. What would you say is your proudest moment so far, or the proudest as you look back on your time with Cardinal? What are you most proud of so far?
The growth of my team, like. You hear about, like, for instance, when you're with Southwestern, the sales managers would always say, we love it when our experienced dealers are hitting chairmans or more, but we love it more when our rookies are hitting PC. And so the fact that I've got this guy, Travis Brown and Jerome Checketts, every time these guys get a commission bump, I'm making less money, but I'm the first person to remind them every week on a Monday or every month what they need to do to get their next commission bump, because I want to see them get there. I want to see these guys have $20,000 deposits in a week. So I want to see them have a $30,000 deposit in a month. To see these people doing that, I wrote 300,000 my first 12 months in the business, which was at the time kind of the record for Cardinal.
Yeah, that's wild.
We had I think 2 people write over 400,000 last year, Isaac McConkey and Michael Camillero. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 people on pace right now to sell 600,000 this year. Isaac McConkey, Michael K, Lucas Holland, and Nate Alberts is probably going to do it. None of those guys I work with personally, but like Greta and Jerome are probably both going to sell between 300,000 and 400,000. I'm pushing for 400,000 because that's how they're going to win their Rolex. If you sell 400K in Cardinal, you get a damn Rolex. But so my proudest moments, it's not really like my personal achievements. It's like seeing these guys hit their commission bumps and make that kind of money and be able to make some life-changing money for their family and their situations. I mean, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. Like when you see other people having a ton of success, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Greta talked about that in her episode where it was like, this is the first time I was making like money. Like she goes, I thought I was making a lot of money because she grew up in a. By the way, Greta we love you, girl. She's such a badass. We love Greta, and she sold a lot of books. She had a couple summers in 5,000 units or something like that. I'm trying to remember, but the point is, like, she thought that was a lot of money at that point because she grew up relatively kind of low income, right, with their family.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents were working full time, and they were trying to make ends meet. And so, in her life, when she went and sold books, making $25,000 in the summer was up to that point in her mind. That was like, that's a ton of money. But then she went to Cardinal, and on the show, she was just like, man, I'm going to make well over 6 figures this year. And like, I've never known what to do like with that much money. Like I've never seen, I never thought I'd be able to, you guys were able to provide this like glass ceiling shattering for her, which was, I thought, really cool. And you could tell in the conviction in her voice with what she was doing that it was really impactful and meaningful for her. And it's not that it's just about money, but it's just more the belief barriers that she was able to break because of that. And so that's pretty cool. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. There's another guy I work with, Franco. Pedro recruited him. I got to work with him. And I think he came on board, and he's worked his way up to like 125% commission. He's building an awesome team. But like Greta, I started working with not quite a year ago, about August. When I was started with her, she was at a 90. Now she's at a 115. Jerome, I started working with last March. He started at a 90. Now he's at a 115. And it's like, it's just cool to see these guys hitting these benchmarks to kind of hit their commission bumps. And it's just a ton of fun to watch. It's a ton of fun to be a part of, and whatever I can do to help these guys get there, it does get me excited. And I do love working with these guys. And it's not just like the money they're making. Like, I've gotten to know them as people. I'm talking with them daily and weekly and going over their goals and, sending them text messages, joking around with them. It's just like I work with them and I'm their manager, but I view these people as people and friends as well. And it's a ton of fun to see them have a lot of success.
That's awesome. That's awesome, brother. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I mean, as far as Cardinal, that's all the questions I had. Any other thoughts that you'd wanted to share about like what you're doing for work or anything else as far as from Cardinal that you really wanted to make sure to highlight here on the show?
I mean, I feel like whoever listens to the show weekly is probably just so sick and tired of the fact that I bought up all the remaining ad space. But dude, yeah, I mean, if you're hearing this and you sound interested, dude, we're throwing $500 at people for if whether you're looking for a job. If somebody's looking for a job, refer them our way. Again, I'm at the point now where I'm not even accepting people. I was talking about a guy the other day, and the guy that followed Travis, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to hire that guy. I hope he is not listening to this podcast right now, but yeah. So right now, mainly what I'm doing is I'm focused on recruiting, and then I'm kind of trying to help people build. So like Greta is probably the one that's building very quickly. The other guy I mentioned, Franco Cruz, is like, he's kind of off running on his own, dude. The dude doesn't even need my help. He's one of the sharpest people I've ever worked with. And that was a guy that sold books for 2 summers, maybe didn't even sell more than 2,500 units in his 2 summers combined. Dude's got a crazy story. He's got this thing called night blindness. He walks around with a walking stick. Dude, I mean, he's a trooper. He's a badass dude. And
we got to get him on the show.
Yeah, you got to get him on. I thought about sending him y'all's way for the Cinco de Mayo episode. So
right, that's right. We wanted to hit
Franco Cruz, but he's a sharp dude, done really well. He's a guy didn't really sell a whole lot of books, but he had the company record at Cardinal for about a year. And the guy can't work past like 6 o'clock.
That's badass.
He literally like can't see. He'll hire a driver to drive him around. I mean, this dude is a worker.
That's badass. I got one more question for you. Are you going to make the Bisler trip an incentive trip?
The Bisler, dude, I hadn't even thought about that. You need to talk to Pedro about that. That's the man that makes those decisions. That's above my pay grade.
You should make it so it's like, hey, if you hit so much in like July or from here till Bisler, you get a trip to Bisler, and you send out one of your Cardinal folks out to come hang out with us because we're going, baby. By the way, I'm gonna take this opportunity really quick. Bisler, August 15th through the 19th of 2022. So this is airing in July. It should be about a month from around this time that we're airing this episode. And so, guys, you can still sign up. There's a link below you can click on. There's also going to be a link below where you can go refer someone or yourself for Cardinal. Either way, click on either of those links. You can get more information about either of them. If you refer someone and they get hired onto Cardinal, whether it's yourself or somebody you know, that's a $500 bonus. And then, of course, I mean, since you guys have partnered with us, your team was at like 27. Now it's at like 30 something. So we've had a couple people from the show that heard about you guys through us that are now working with you. Is that? I mean, am I right?
We absolutely have. Jaime Ramos. He actually came over from we stole him from Southwestern Legacy Group. Jaime Ramos. He's gotten off to a good start. So
sorry, guys.
Yeah. So
sorry.
If you worked there and you're interested in what we're doing, give me a holler.
Sorry, Legacy. You should have sponsored us when you had the chance. And that goes to show anybody else is curious about whether you get a good ROI on your sponsorship and getting involved and getting plugged in with Nick and making sure you're up to date on your ads. There you go. It works. Imagine that. We have a cool thing going here at the show. So all right, man. Well, let's rotate over towards some Southwestern stuff. Is that cool? We'll do a couple of quick shout outs. Oh, by the way, we're gonna start the Southwestern portion of the episode with a video that you sent me.
Oh God.
This is a good time to go grab your Topo Chico if you're gonna
I'm gonna get
go
a
do that.
refill and a topo.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna do a couple of quick other tips of the industry. First stuff coming up with Pat Roach, Southwestern Real Estate. By the way, thanks for the shirt, Pat. Love it. 99% drama free. Love it. Super comfy. But here's a bit of free money advice from Pat Roach. Definitely, if you know who Pat Roach is, it's definitely worth listening to. But if you are struggling year after year to put money away into retirement, here's his thoughts on this. You got to make an ambitious goal to earn and put away all the money you can into retirement into your first quarter of the year. When you motivate yourself and put yourself in a position to earn all your retirement money in the first quarter, you'll find yourself avoiding a lot of complacency that you may have once had. So that said, let's get you in touch with Pat so you can learn more about financial freedom as well as being a real estate agent with their group. It is such a fun group to be a part of. Speaking of another group of people who has really awesome culture and it's just growing with flexibility and expanding to different states. There are multiple states now, I think 14 of them. So you can go and interview with Pat. Next up, I want to shout out Dillon Barr over at Thought Leader. My man, he's working with Thought Leader. They are helping people land TEDx talks. So if you're a motivated high performance sales rep and you want to make over $200,000 a year, that's right. I said $200,000 plus a year, working about 4 days a week from anywhere with an internet connection. They're selling a really awesome course, a proven offer for business leaders with an incredible track record. So they are helping people who are, who are professionals, entrepreneurs, change makers to get their message out into the world by leveraging the world's largest stage. That's, of course, the TEDx platform. And so they're looking to add 2 people from Southwestern alumni sales advisors to join their fully remote team of 25 people. If you're interested, of course, send Dillon Barr a message. He's Thought Leader's head of sales and client experience. He's, of course, bookman. And so his email's on the screen. That's db@thought-leader.com. Thought-leader.com. DB as in Dillon Barr. And then last but not least, quick shout out from Quintin again as we wait, as he's returning here. And here's a little bit of what we had to say about networking on one of our Derby meetings. Again, guys, every other Friday, go check out our Facebook and or LinkedIn, where we have these Derby meetings. We're speaking directly to all of our sponsors, all of our jockeys who are pouring in and sharing some of the wisdoms that are helping them grow their businesses respectively in all the industries that we have them in. Fantastic value for you guys. It's free. Those are free little tidbits that you can go listen to. So Quentin had mentioned this in one of his Derby meetings about networking. So he said, be very intentional about spending time with people that are where you want to be and do the things that those people you want to be around do. Make those people a part of your network and routine. When you're around mediocre people, you're able to convince yourself that your shit don't stink. So when you surround yourself with studs, you're able to keep a growth mindset. When you're choosy about your time spent, you'll be way better off. And I think that's phenomenal wisdom. The old adage of you're the average of the 5 people spend the most time with. And again, if you've been listening this far, make sure you guys check out the link to refer yourself. Or if you have a hard time, if you have questions, make sure you message us, or you can reach out to Quentin himself to get more information about how to get involved or how to learn more about Cardinal senior benefits. If you're working with Legacy and you want to switch over, you're also more than welcome to do that too. I'm gonna bring Quentin back on the screen.
There you go. I like that one. That's the new ad. If you're at Legacy and you'd rather try something different, give us a call.
I'm gonna get yelled at by Dustin Hills when he's on the show.
Oh man,
that's okay, man. Look, it's kind of like, have you seen that? Have you seen that Dave Chappelle stand up when he talks about Coke and Pepsi? And he goes, honestly, can't tell the difference. But Pepsi paid me the most recently, so it tastes better. That's pretty much how the game goes.
That's the way it goes.
So, hell yeah. So
that's the golden rule, Andres. The man that has the gold makes the rules.
That's right, baby. Look, we're an advertising agency in sorts, but really our main goal is to reach out to, and this is a good segue into Southwestern, but our goal has been always to just, we're not taking sides here. We don't care. Honestly, we've had Southwestern Legacy agents on here which is one of the key things whenever we ask any of our jockeys when we take them on. It's like, hey, look, we're probably going to have people on the show that work with a direct competitor of yours. You got to be okay with that, because our goal is not about promoting necessarily specifically any company. Our goal is to just be the place where people can come share their experience about this and come listen in and relate and share some fun stories and hopefully take some solid wisdom from our guests, who have all been pretty amazing. So I'm glad that while we're able to highlight Cardinal and, Southwestern Real Estate, Elevate Wellness, all these other companies, I'm glad that other people can come in and still share their experience and share their stories. And so of that, let's talk about some of the stories of your Southwestern career. Before I ask you how you got started, I got to show this video. You sent me this earlier today.
Yeah.
And I was laughing my ass off. Hold on a sec. Let me. Okay, so here we go. There we go.
Thousands of people that are tired of not having everything conveniently located.
Let me go back. Okay, here we go.
Does this situation seem all too familiar? Are you one of the thousands of people that are tired of not having everything conveniently located when you're trying to make a sales presentation? Think that it could have been a good summer if only you had a place to keep all your necessary equipment?
Yes!
Wait till you see what I have for you! Billy Mays here for Southwestern, not the airline, the publishing company. And I'm going to show you the Southwestern sales bag. Right here! This one! Oh, man. Snake eyes! The ultimate carrying tool? No book guy or book girl should live without. In fact, this is the best bag I've ever used. This bag handles everything Southwestern has to offer. It doesn't matter if it's a handbook, moo-foo, or even those pesky Explorer learns. This bag handles it all.
Oh my God.
More books than your body can handle. 400 books. So many books, they'll think you're a librarian. It even has a place for your water bottle. Awesome! Even extreme weather tested.
Where can I keep my water today?
Right in there, Missy. And now, real life testimonials from book people just like you.
Back in my day, we carried books
Floyd.
in this.
Oh, wait.
At least we got to sit on them.
I totally feel at ease with my new bag. Before I could feel the cell slipping away because I didn't know where anything was. But now it's all right here. Thanks, Billy Mays.
Look at me, I love my bag.
Nick Dale. Wait, there's more. Come to sales school now. You get a free quad-colored pin. Black, red, blue, and green. Perfect for color coordinating maps and pre-approach.
Yippee skippy!
Plus, you come to sales school now, you get all this for absolutely free. Here's how you order.
To order, have your dealer agreement as well as your parental support letter ready and call 1-888-602-7867. That's 1-888-602-7867. Don't delay. Call now. Please note this bag shown is Superstar model and not available immediately.
Oh, man. Larry and I put that together.
Classic.
We were up in Breckenridge, Colorado. My brother-in-law, he was just a friend at the time, Dillon Lackey. He used to organize that ski trip every year, and so we'd have like 10 people crammed into a room with 3 beds. It was crazy. It was like $450. We would get our lift ticket, our skis, and our hotel for $450 for the whole week. It was like a 4-day lift ticket to like Breck, Vail, Arapahoe Basin, and Beaver Creek, maybe one other. It was crazy.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, there may or may not have been alcohol imbibed on that trip. I can't for sure say, but I believe so.
That might be a story for another time, but let's just say there was. Anyways, so all right, brother, let's rewind the clocks back. So we're back in 05. Oh no, wait. Yeah, 05. Right?
Yeah, 05.
How the heck? Who started this for you? Who approached you? How did you get into this whole business?
Yeah, I was a survey like many other poor souls before me. I got
irony
coming up. Yeah, so filled out the survey, but kind of the backstory before that. I'm the youngest of 5 in my family. I've got a brother that's 8 years older than me. He went to the University of Georgia. He went to a community college, transferred to Georgia, graduated with an MIS or a computer science degree. But when he graduated a couple years before I went to college, and he struggled for a couple years finding a job. And he actually got into like a sales job for a short period of time. Didn't work for him. Again, he's a computer science MIS major, management information systems. And he told me, Quentin, if you hear about internships in college, you just need to do them. And I was like, all right. And so, here I am, freshman year. I probably filled it out. They usually surveyed at Georgia, like, first week of the spring semester. And, here they are talking about internships. I fill it out. I don't know when I got the calls, probably a couple of weeks later, late January, early February, and got the call, went to the meeting. My student manager, total badass, Sean Reavis, he worked at Family Heritage for a while. I think he's actually still there. He's been there like 13, 14 years. Solid dude. Sean Reavis was a great dude. He went to University of the South, in Tennessee, Sewanee University, played football there for 2 years. Then he transferred. Dude was a walk-on at the University of Georgia. The world famous 2021 national championship, University of Georgia Bulldogs. My manager played football for him. It was funny, like you have your campus-wide meetings and everybody shares their fun fact. Yeah. Sean always had the one up on everyone. He'd be like, "Oh, I guess my fun fact is I've played in front of 93,000 screaming fans." And I was like, I had 2 cars when I was 16. You know what I mean? My fun fact is like, terrible. But I got recruited by Sean. Sean Reavis. That was his 3rd summer. He only sold 1 more summer after that. But yeah, went to the informational meeting and they talked about money, experience, advancement, travel, college credit, and then number 6 with the star next to it, what they told us to do was challenge. And I was really appealed to the experience and advancement. I love the idea of like beefing up the resume, coming back for multiple summers is kind of what appealed to me. And I think my wife and my youngest one just walked in the door, so I don't know if we're going to be able to hear them a whole lot or not.
I can barely hear them. You're good.
I just yell at mom to bring in the meatloaf.
Yeah, Mom, the meatloaf. We want it now. Great movie. By the way, if you can name that movie, if you're listening, and if you can name the movie, message us. I will send you a high five, a virtual personal message, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode if you can name that movie. Ma, the meatloaf. We want it now. Fuck. Hell yeah, that's funny. So okay, so now you're listening to this. It sounds like a lot of people say the challenge sounded like really interesting to you. It sounds like is that from being like the youngest or something like that?
No, the challenge was what they always told us to, like in the meeting, we would go through the first 5 and then we'd say, this next one, put a star next to it. It was challenge. And I think that was just like the reverse psychology kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, I want a challenge. But for me, it was experience and advancement. So the challenge, I didn't really care a whole lot. The money I really didn't care a lot about. In Georgia, they have this thing at the time when I got to college. If you kept a 3.0, your tuition was paid for. It's a pretty easy scholarship to get. Yeah.
What?
It's called the Hope Scholarship. It's paid for by the lottery. It's a lot harder to get now. I think you probably have to keep like a 3.5 or a 3.75. But Hope Scholarship paid for everything. I had been working since I was 15, 16. Anyone that knows me knows I'm like incredibly cheap, very, very frugal. So money was not really something I was mega concerned about. Yeah. So it was really just the experience and the advancement for me. And so, yeah.
It's interesting that you describe yourself as cheap even back then. That's not like common. Like you knew that early about yourself. That's pretty cool. Okay, and now you go back Norcross, Georgia. What do your parents have to say? I mean, were they like, go kill it? Or were they like, absolutely not?
I guess, from like the stereotypical, I think my situation was fairly normal. My dad had his own company. He was in construction. So we moved from Kingsville, Texas, which is like 2 hours north of the border when that's where my mom and dad were born and raised. And then when I was just under a year old, we moved to Georgia because it was the mid 80s. There was a kind of a bust in the oil field, which dried up a lot of the construction jobs. And so my dad, the first place he found a job was Atlanta. And so Kingsville, Texas is a pretty small town. So my parents from rural South Texas moving to Atlanta, I think it was probably kind of a scary thing for them. I mean, again, they had 5 kids with no job, and my dad was looking for one. And then they find a job in the big city that's like kind of scary to them. But my dad was a general contractor. And then by the time I was in middle school, he had started his own company doing basically commercial remodeling for like the GP building, Georgia Pacific building in downtown Atlanta. And then he had also done Amway for a period of time, which the Amway tapes, the Amway motivational cassette tapes make an appearance in my first and second summer. And they're actually still heavily influencing me today.
No way, dude. No.
Yeah.
Is that a ponytail, or do you want to talk about that right now? Because
I don't think it's a ponytail, but we have a conference call with Cardinal every day, like 8:30 to 9. And whenever they're having a sales school or Pedro's not there, I host the call, and I call it the morning despair call. And I lead off with this motivational Amway tape speech from Les Brown. Maybe we'll get into it later. If I have too much to drink, I'll do my radio skit for you. It's pretty. I don't think it's all that funny, but people seem to think it is. But
dude, that is so funny.
Yeah, so funny. The point I was getting to there is my dad was an entrepreneur, started his own business, did Amway, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but I can act like I do and say it like he said it. I can make something up. But I think essentially what he said was like, I don't know if you're going to make any money at this, but I think it's going to be really good for you. And I think you're going to learn a lot.
Oh, so you're super positive about it. That's
and then
for people listening who didn't sell books or didn't have parents that told them no, whose parents also told them yes, that's pretty crazy. Most parents are like, and that's if parents are like, at the parent call, you're good. That is so good. That's like the best you can hope for. So have someone like your dad, that's pretty crazy.
So he was on board. Again, I'm the youngest of 5. So like my brothers and sisters, I think broke my parents in, and my parents, they want us to learn. They want us to grow. They want to get out of the house. They want us to grow up and be productive members of society. And ultimately, I think my mom was probably more skeptical of it, but she's not one to like meddle in our business. I don't think she wanted to influence me. And she's like, well, if that's what you want to do. And then Sean, like a good student manager, he made the parent visit, went out and sat with my parents. My parents went to what they call the production seminar. I guess everybody does that, where like a couple weeks or month before the summer, the sales manager comes into town, all the student managers go there, all the rookies go there, the parents of the rookies go there. Usually a couple parents of student managers come to speak. And I think like they were very on board with it at that point. They really liked Sean. They trusted Sean. Sean, I think, was complimentary of me and told them like why he selected me. And he was like, well, we think your son will work hard. And my dad was like, well, if all it takes to do well is he's got to work hard, like Quentin's a hard worker, he should do well. And I didn't break any records. I wasn't in the top 100, unfortunately, but I went out there, I worked hard. I was good with my money. I got a $10,000 check my first summer, and the rest, as they say, is history,
That's right, sir. So you go out your first summer, you don't break any records. I always like lingering a little bit on the first summer because I feel like that's the one that really like you have, not that you don't have other good stories from the rest of the summers, they always have something, but it's like that first one that really just shocks you the most, right? Like it's the one that really impacts you. What were some, I guess, in your mind, highlights, lowlights of that summer, and how overall was your attitude at the end of it?
Everyone if you talk to anyone that works with me, they're probably like, dude, Quentin's a robot. He doesn't really get high or low. He doesn't express any emotion. I'm laughing because the other day, maybe a month or so ago, Greta was like, she had told me a couple weeks earlier that she had COVID. And I was like, all right, well, at least you're not dead. Just get back to work. And that was like my response. Like And like 2 weeks after the fact, she was like, I told you I had COVID and you just said, at least you're not dead. I told Pedro I had COVID. He talked to me about it for like an hour about all the things I could do to better myself. I just like, there was never during my first summer where I was like, thought about quitting or going home. And it's not like it went perfect and everything went well the whole time. It was just like, I was like, I'm getting my ass kicked out here. I'm doing all right. I'm learning a ton. Like I could feel myself growing like as I was out there. And again, I'm just pretty logical, unemotional. And I was like, this is great for me. I need to learn how to talk to people. I need to get my butt kicked. I liked the idea of something challenging, and I wasn't blowing it out of the park, but I was making money and I was getting better. And, there's just something about like, your first week, I think I sold a little less than 100 units, but I was like, I made $400 selling a bunch of shit door to door. Like I could survive on my own, baby. Hand me a bag and send me somewhere. I'll pay my bills,
Oh, that's funny.
Just like that confidence that comes from your first summer. As I reflect actually on my first summer, because I busted my ass. I think of myself as I'm not like the smartest guy ever, but I'm not like a dumbass. I often wonder why I didn't do better. And I think that's what's made me a good coach. I was like so convicted on the Southwestern way. Like I thought about this when Greta told me about ponytails and I became a sponsor. I heard about it. I was like, I'm all in, pushing the poker chips in. I was like, I'm going to buy up all their advertising. And my wife was like, you're going to spend what with who? Who are these people? Right. I was like, I don't know if it's going to work, baby, but we're going to spend a bunch of money with him. We're going to do a bunch of advertising. I don't know where I was going with that, but when Greta told me about ponytails and I started listening to the episodes, you guys actually interviewed Brian Harbin, my first OL. That was Sean Reavis, student manager. Brian Harbin was a total badass. And he taught, like, he's the reason my wife ended up selling so many books her first summer. Like, he mentored her, it became very clear early on. I mean, she sold 1,000 units her 5th week of the summer. Think about it. Never sold anything before. Crazy. Most people don't ever hit more. Most people don't even sniff anywhere close to more. Most people are lucky if they ever hit President's Club or Chairman's. Her 5th week, her first summer, she sold 1,000 units. Okay.
That's wild.
And Brian Harbin, like, personally mentored her and kind of took her through it. But I remember, like, so we listened to that episode and I started kind of thinking, like, why didn't I sell more books? I'm not like the ugliest dude out there. Like, I'm fairly smart. I was really coachable. Like, Sean Reavis, when I was getting recruited, he told me, like, hey, if you're looking for some books to read, I was like, I'll read whatever you tell me. He gave me Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read that before the summer.
Book. Wow, you were like prepped. You were set.
I practiced smiling in the mirror for like hours before my first summer. At the parent coffee seminar.
No way.
The parent coffee seminar, I won $100 from B. Ross because I had my sales talk memorized. Like, dude, I was in it.
Wow. That's pretty shocking. Oftentimes we've heard on the show, people are like, I didn't prep for shit. I learned my sales talk on the way to the book field. Not like on the way to checkout. Like on the way to the book field.
And that's a testament to just how shitty a salesman I actually am naturally, Like, I was just not very good. But, when I think of, there's a couple things I think of. So, how like you have your personal conference your first summer every summer really, but you do your personal conference with the manager. I always had a lot of clients. I was kind of working just not the right turf. You know what I mean? Right. And so I might have 40, 45 customers. I'd be lucky if half of them were strong or not zero downs. And so what they talked to me about was like, well, you got to collect something. Like, they thought I was bad at cash collection, which I don't think I really was. So what they actually taught me, Andres, my first time, they said, if you can't get money, you got to get something out of these people. I was collecting DVDs. I was collecting jewelry. I was collecting whatever from these folks. And honestly, what I needed coaching on was for somebody to tell me to quit knocking on apartment complexes. Like, those are not the people you want to be doing business with. And I think I actually did have somebody tell me like, hey, maybe you're in the wrong territory. It's probably my manager, Sean. But you know how in sales school they tell you it's not the land, it's the man.
Right.
And so when people told me get out of the territory, I thought they were like, oh, this guy's just whining. Let's shut him up. Let's send him to a new territory. So I was like, I'm not leaving my territory. This isn't my territory. Like, I'm telling you, I was like Sammy Southwestern. I was working 85, 86, 87, 88 hours a week. I was the guy that like at Sunday meeting, he would win all the categories for work stats, but like cash collection and units, he's not up there. And you're like, this guy's just totally full of shit. Like that was me. Like, I feel like Jess has said this because we were in the same org our first summer. She was like, yeah, you were always up there for hours, but when it came to production, you were out right away.
That's hilarious.
But what it is, it's
I know that guy though too. I know that everybody can relate to that guy in their org.
Usually,
like, oh, I know who you are.
Yeah, they're usually pretty annoying. Maybe you're not quite sure if they're totally full of shit with their stats. I was not. Like, I was out there working the hours. I would start 7:30, 7:45. I don't think I usually stopped before 9:45 or 10 or later if I could. But it's just like that coachable, like, it's not the land, it's the man. And I bought too much into that. You know?
Yikes.
So that was part of it.
Territory does matter.
And then the other part of it also, like, not to throw my managers under the bus, was me. You know, I got so comfortable in that feeling of success, signing up poor people and people that didn't have any money, that I was like, I just became comfortable with that. And like the idea of working wealthier stuff was just like a little bit like my skin wasn't thick enough. So I'm not saying it was all the student manager fault, but like there is like this degree of like, I was like coachable to like I couldn't read between the lines. You know what I'm saying?
You're just taking stuff literally, which is like too literally. Like, hey, it's okay if they don't have kids, just go to the next store. But you know, like you'd have those kids who are like, oh, we don't sell to grandpas. No, I mean, unless they're like absolutely, obviously very interested right up front, you just move on. You don't talk to them for 45 minutes about the weather until they buy something or not. But the kid would be so coachable that it's like, I'm just going to try to get my demos, you know, and like it would have like that same impact where it's like, you're being too coachable, maybe, if that's a thing. And it does hurt you.
Well, it was just like, you know, everything they preach in sales school is true to a certain point. Like, again, it's not the land, it's the man, which was like, that's a good thing. Like, don't blame your outside circumstances. Take responsibility for your results and change it. And I understood that. But what I needed someone to say, I needed a manager to say, well, that's true, but we're not selling in apartment complexes in the ghetto. Like, you got to cherry pick that stuff. Like, you if that's in your territory, it's okay to skip over that. And here's why. What I didn't get was I didn't get a here's why. And because I didn't get a here's why you don't need to do that, I thought it was them like kind of babying me. And I didn't want to be babied. I was here for an experience. And again, they build these sales managers up so much at sales school. And then when they're on stage and they're like, you're worshiping them because they've done all these things you want to do. And they're like, it's not the land, it's the man. And you're like, I'm going to knock on every apartment door in my territory. It's like, I don't know how many weeks I wasted just knocking on just total shit, you know, like Dustin Hillis isn't breaking the car. He's not breaking the company record in Scranton, Pennsylvania, knocking on apartment doors. You know what I mean?
That's right. Is that where you were? Were you Scranton your first summer?
Scranton, Pennsylvania. I think it was like the summer before The Office came out, which was filmed in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's some good territory. I sold in Honesdale, which is northeast of there.
Northeast Pennsylvania, baby. NEPA, as they called it on the radio.
Scattered, bro. It's so scattered. That's like
Out
the most country. You don't see people for miles on that one. But it's beautiful, beautiful out there, though. So pretty.
It was great turf. I got to live with my student manager. We had a pretty cool, funny HQ situation. The guy probably must have died within 5 years there. He was an old ass dude. The ceiling fell in on us one night. I would be up like late every night, like filling out my weekly. I'm really into like reports and analytics and measuring all my stuff. I don't require a whole lot of sleep, but one night I went into bed. We were sleeping on a twin mattress turned sideways, me and Sean. So like our upper bodies were on the twin and then our lower bodies were on the floor. And for whatever reason, one night I went in there and shut the door. I didn't realize the door was keeping the ceiling up. So I shut the door and the ceiling fell in on
Fuck.
And so
That's rough.
I was like, Sean, get up, the ceiling's falling. You know, we ended up turning it into an exec. We did these let me's. Did y'all do let me's?
Oh yeah, let me see your funky chicken. What's that you say? Oh, yeah,
I
what is that?
was like, you know, let me see your home HQ. And I would be like, Sean, get the fuck up. We got to keep the ceiling up. You know, it was a good summer. You know, Sean was a great roommate. He sold a bunch of books. It was his best summer. I think he sold more that summer than he did the next summer. You know, we had, I was on, it's crazy to think. I think we were, I pulled out this, I was able to find the Superstar book. I don't remember what number our team was, 7, 8, 9, something like that. But we sold like 19,000 units. Like it was a big, yeah, it was a good team.
And for reference, people who are listening on as far as units and like how big that is. So I think the record was 36,000 units, but then like on average, if you have a 15 to 20,000 unit team, you're in the top percent of teams. Like that's cooking. So
That's a good
19
team.
is no joke. Yeah, 19 is no joke. Because the way you figure it is the average first year student probably sells, 1,000 units or 1,500 units, right? So if you have a team of 5, you can multiply to that. So then if you can imagine if there's, you have 9, even if you had 19 first year students, which would be a huge team, and they each sold 1,000, that's pretty solid to do. So it's no joke to have a team that does 19,000. It's pretty special. You either have a lot of studs or a big group of, average to above average students. And either way, it's hard to accomplish that. So that's pretty solid, guys. That's pretty good shit. Congrats.
Yeah. And on that first summer, I mean, there's the wall of greats. My manager, Sean Reavis, and his manager, Brian Harbin, both brought a 20-man team that year. Brian was the OL. I think he mentioned this on the episode he had. There was like 60 plus rookies in that org.
That's wild.
It was like 60 rookies, 15 managers. I think I was probably number 11, 12, or 13 rookie in the org, and I wrote like 2,400 units. My wife was number 1 in our org. She wrote 6,900 units as a first year.
That's
wild. Colin Wright,
wild.
Colin Wright was in our org. He's a good friend of mine still today. I think he wrote over 4,000 units as like number 16 or so. Jared Justice was in that org. He wrote 4,000 plus. My guy I work with now, David Cunningham, was my roommate. He wrote like 2,500 units, I think. Kerry Ross. We just had we had a lot of solid dudes on that team, and it was a really fun summer.
Is that the summer that Brian hit 10,000, or did he hit 10,000?
Yeah, Brian hit 10,000.
No wonder.
When you look at the Superstar book from that year, I know, like I was thinking about this and I was like, my wife saves everything. So we have like Superstar books from every year. Brian was the number 1. They had a category called honorary dealer, which is basically like graduated people that basically too old to be selling books. They call them honorary. So they had first year education, first year power, top 50 experienced education and power, and then top 50 honorary.
Right. We should explain this even for the book kids that are listening to this that are more recent. So if you don't know this, back in the day, there was more than number 1 first year. So in today's world, the Superstar book comes out, which is kind of like how everyone did, like the top 75 and the top 150 of both either experience, which is anybody that's not a rookie, and rookies. And so in today's world, there's just one number 1. It's the person that sold the most as a rookie, and then there's the other number 1, which is the person that sold most overall. And that's all good, and that makes sense. But back before 08, I think before Dan Moore was the president, the company was divided into 2 divisions. One was the power, and one was education. And so there, you could say that in 2002, for example, there was a number 1 rookie for the power and number 1 rookie for the education, and there was that you were both number 1. That's just how it went. It wasn't until late that the United. So what you're talking about is in the Superstar book, there was highlights of either of those 2, and your org was scattered throughout the Superstar book, which is pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, we probably had 3 different managers that summer hit Mort. 1 rookie hit Mort. Brian hit Mort several times. Matt Meredith hit Mort. I think Sean, if he didn't hit Mort, he came close. Another guy that I'm good friends with still today, Scott Steffen. I talked to Mitchell the other day. Mitchell's his younger brother. Mitchell, I'm good friends with, but Scott was one of the managers in that org. I became good friends with Scott. His family came over to our house a couple years ago, right before COVID, actually. But I've stayed in touch with him. It was a cool org. It was a fun time. Obviously, I came back for 6 more summers after that. So
yeah, what drew you back? What how did they get you?
Again, it was like never really a question of like, am I coming back? I was like, hell yeah, I made good money. I learned a lot. Like I said, when I was in that informational, like experience and advancement. So like I got some experience. I need to come back and learn how to recruit. It made sense that I was going to get better. When your first week, my first 3 weeks, I averaged or hovered around probably 60 to 100 units. My best week, my first summer was like 380 or so. And so it made sense to me that my second summer, the floor I would walk on would be 200 or 300 units. I would get better. And that was true. I ended up hitting growth again. Didn't make it in the superstar book either, but I did better. I hit growth. I made more money. I got better at the job. And, it's funny, like you don't feel like you understand or you're good at the job until you have rookies asking you questions and you can answer their questions and give them an explanation. Like, oh, wow, I do know what I'm doing.
I know my shit.
That's right. And it's like, what I kind of have come to realize, and I think they teach us at Southwestern, but the best way to learn something is to teach it. So you come back and you start teaching sales with people or meeting up with rookies or piecing rookies or helping to encourage them or taking stat calls. And, ultimately you want to be, an OL, but really my 4th summer was a turning point. I had just graduated, skipped my graduation, went to sales school for my 4th summer. And I was like, that was going to be my last summer. I was not very good at it. I couldn't recruit. I was like, not very good personally, not very good at recruiting. It's kind of like, all right, I'm going to do my 4th summer and then I'm on to the real world,
Rough. What changed? Because now you go into summer number 5. And also, by the way, we're still going to get into some highlights. So I want some stories from those summers before we get to ponytails. Because 7 summers is worthy of a lot of stories. But what changed, you think, between 4 and 5, where you were sucking at? Earlier, I asked you what helped you start like recruiting, and you said it was because you started selling more. So I guess what did you figure out? What did you learn?
Okay, so what happened was I went back for my 3rd summer, and everyone always said you're going to learn a lot recruiting. So I full-time recruited actually going into my 3rd summer. I signed up for 12 hours, dropped 3 classes, and drop ads. So I had 9 hours. And then I lived with 2 people that were full-timing. I went to my classes, but I was on a full-timer schedule, trying to get to 20 commits a night. Brought a 7-man team, one of which was my girlfriend of those, and she quit along with the other 6 people that I recruited.
Yikes. Did she break up with you and quit, or just quit?
No, she didn't break up with me. She just quit,
So then you broke up with her.
Bye. I think, it's crazy. We actually broke up I think when we got back, but she was kind of crazy, like most girls, they're all crazy at some point in time or another, except for my wife. She's not. She's totally
That's right.
sane.
And my wife.
And your wife.
And Amy. And anybody that's my friend that's a woman. And actually, we're all crazy.
That's right.
Men are crazy.
So 3rd summer, I recruited. I busted my ass. It didn't go well. I didn't make much money. The team did terrible. And I had some sharp kids on that team. I had some people that I knew fairly well. And so going into my 4th summer, I was like, well, I'm definitely not recruiting again because that sucked. And it didn't go well. And so what happened my 4th summer is I went from like 2,400 units first summer, 3,400 units second summer, 3,800 unit third summer. And then I sold 7,200 units my 4th summer.
What?
Yeah.
That's
and it was,
wild.
And I honestly, I think my manager, my DSM, Brian Ross, I think he saw more in me than what my production was. Like he realized I wasn't my units, because in Eagle Blitz, we do OL weekend I wasn't invited to that, but we had this thing called Meeting of the Minds.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my now wife, Jess, I'm pointing over here because she's in the other room. Jessica, we were the only B contracts invited. And I was like, all right, I understand why they invited my wife. She hit Morton, sold 7,000. I sold 2,300 units and didn't make it in the Superstar book. Why the F am I here? I was like really underconfident at that meeting. Jerry Heffel was the president at that time. And I think it was just like B. Ross could tell, like, again, just to tell you how kind of nerdy and coachable I was, I met with B. Ross at 6 a.m. at the Mayflower, which was a restaurant in Athens. I was carrying the world's greatest salesman around in my back pocket because I was reading it 3 times a day. Like, and you know,
once out loud to yourself at night, and then
I was like reading a scroll every night. I was like I didn't sell books for lack of effort or because I was off schedule. Like I sold little units in spite of myself. Like it was not the work ethic, wasn't the attitude, it wasn't any of that. It was just purely I was just not very good.
You just gave me, sorry to interrupt, but you just gave me an idea. I'm going to say when I start introducing guests from now on, I'm going to ask you, and then this is going to become a tradition at the beginning instead of like their proud of Southwestern moment. It's going to be, what is your favorite scroll?
Well, unfortunately, I couldn't tell you any of the scrolls today. I haven't read all the
way.
No.
Okay, I'm going to name them for you. It's today, beginning of the day, I will act now. I will laugh at the world. I will multiply my value 100-fold. I will pray for guidance. These are in no particular order.
Okay.
I will greet this day with love in my heart.
I remember that.
I will laugh at the world. And I'm missing 3, but anyway, any of those you go, oh man, that's the one that really touches.
I will greet each day with love in my heart. I remember that. I remember reading that. That sticks out in my mind once you said it, but I couldn't tell you what scroll it was. But
that's a second, whatever. That okay, good to know. Anyway, sorry, I had to interrupt.
So here I am.
You're at that meeting of the minds.
Yeah. So I was in that meeting of the minds. I think was going into my second summer. I don't know why I was invited, but that's probably what got me, or partially what got me to decide to full-time recruit going, after my second, going into my third summer where all 7 people quit. And at that point in time, it's kind of like I recruited 1 person my B contract year, 7 my C contract year. I'm going to sell 1 more summer. I brought 1 person out. It was an alumni referral that quit as well. So my first 9 people all quit. And then kind of out of nowhere, my 4th summer, I just sold 7,200 units. Jessica was actually my organizational leader, or co-OL with Travis Thompson, who's another guy I work with today at Cardinal. But that summer I learned a lot. I think what it was, like, you've gotten to know me a little bit. My team that I work with now at Cardinal knows me very well. Like I'm very, very dry sense of humor. I can be pretty sarcastic. And I think my first 3 summers, I was trying to sell like a salesman. Like I had this image of a salesman, of like polished, good with people or whatever. And that's who I was trying to be. In my 4th summer, I was just myself. I was like cutting up with people, joking around, making fun of people. I was just being myself. And then I think I was in a territory that was more conducive to my skill set. I grew up in the suburbs of Atlanta, but really I do really well with people that are out in the country.
Yeah.
And so I told the story at our national sales meeting, our Cardinal national sales meeting. I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago. David Cunningham, he beat me my first, second, third summer. I work with him now. I love David. David worked at Family Heritage for a number of years as well. But our 4th summer, we were in the same org. Jess and Travis are the co-OLs. David Cunningham spends the first half of the summer in Europe, like backpacking through Europe. Second half of the summer, he's going to come sell books. We were rookies together. That was going to be his last summer. It was his last summer. And before he, so he got back to Europe. I don't know if he went to sales school or not, but I was rocking and rolling that summer. And he comes and follows me for the day. And this is not like how the summer went, but this is kind of indicative of like who I am and how I kind of developed into myself that summer. He's following me And we sit down with this lady and I close her, and it's time for cash collection. So it's like, what everybody likes about the way I do business. If you want to go and grab your checkbook, and then the classic, like, get up to show action to create that reaction. So she gets up, she goes off into the other room, and I'm sitting in the living room with David. We're sitting there for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute. She's in the other room. And I'm like, you doing all right in there, Miss Jones? And I don't hear anything. And I was like, you better not be getting me any change. And if you are, it better not be any damn pennies. And so I can't believe I said it, but it's just like, I was joking with her, and it was like I had already established that personality with her. And it's just like, even saying it, like, I can't imagine saying something like that to a customer, but like, that's just the way I am. I can be over the top. I can be pretty dry. And I'm not always that way. If I'm not connecting with somebody, I'm not going to talk to them that way. But I had learned to be myself and joke with people and have fun with people. And I think that's why I doubled from, 3,600 to 7,200 units, that summer. It was like, I was being myself. I was happy with what I was doing. And that's why I came back for our 5th, 6th, and 7th summer. That summer, I learned, I grew a ton. I realized I actually didn't suck at the job. And my manager, Sean, and his manager, Brian Harbin, and my first DSM, who at this point, I think he had definitely moved on to Family Heritage at this point, because I got a care package from him that summer, like a book bag with a bunch of crap in it. I don't remember what was in there, but he didn't really send me crap, just crap. But they always talked about, you're going to learn more as an OL and recruiting than doing anything else. And again, I'm a coachable dude in general. I know I have a lot to learn. I know there's a ton of things I'm bad at. So that's kind of why I came back for a 5th, 6th, 7th summer. Is I actually loved the job. I loved the company. I loved the culture. My dream originally was to be, a Southwestern sales manager. And so, I came back, and I think I told myself I would try to get to DSM in 3 years or close to it. And I was nowhere close.
It's just swing and a miss, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, it
worked.
It worked. So 5th summer,
for what you needed.
Yeah. So 4th to 5th summer, at that point in time, I don't think I sold less than 5,000 units in a summer. So I think 4 was like 7,200, 5 was 5 to 6,000. Same with 6 and 7, 5 to 6,000, somewhere in there. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing incredible. But my 5th summer, I went out, I full-time recruited, which was kind of a hard thing to do, because literally every person I had recruited up to that point in time quit. And here I am, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm a college graduate. or a recent college graduate when you're on the book field, and committed to full timing. Did the 20 commits a night, 14-man team, 13 of them finished. Ended up number 2 in the division, 3 in the company. Travis or Matt, I think Matt Atchison was number 1. Travis Thompson was number 2. I was 3. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm damn good at this. I'm not just good, I'm really good.
Matt Atchison was good at all of the business. He was one of those naturally talented people,
He's one of those people that just make you sick. You're just like you don't even.
Fuck you, you're so good at everything.
That's right.
In the most loving way.
This son of a bitch is putting on his pants 2 legs at a time, and I'm over here like a mere mortal putting them on 1 leg at a time. You know what I mean?
He just looks down and they're on.
But I love that. I loved Matt. Again, I think I was one of the first people at Eagle Blitz. I would take time off in the fall to go and follow. Like, I followed Matt Atchison between my 5th and 6th summer. He went and picked me up at the airport in Lincoln or Omaha. He played Blackbird for me on his acoustic guitar. I stayed at a house with him in Chelsea and shouted him for 3 days. And then after in between my 6th and 7th summer, I actually drove out to North Carolina, and I followed Lester around for a couple of days, trying to learn the job and get better at it. Yeah.
Well, being a student of the game and a word on Matt, and just like one of the things that is so, I think that was so frustrating about like watching Matt work, or just like, even when you know him now, you're like, dude, I can see why you're good at this. It's obvious. Like, you're the just kind of person that just like, that commands attention really well. And so it must have been really cool to learn from someone like that, just because it's like you're watching someone who's really good at something do that thing really, really well. And it's, it's just that's a cool experience from a standpoint of someone who understands how difficult that can be, like to be good at it. So yeah, sweet. That's a sweet experience for sure. And of course that helps you, right? Nowadays, like you were saying, it's stolen goods, right? You're just still applying that today, to help your team and to help grow your company. That's super awesome.
And like I said, there's a ton I learned, not just from my successes, but a lot from my failures. I've worked with a number of people that weren't in the superstar book as well. And they've gone on to do really good things outside of Cardinal, but even within Cardinal, working with those people. Like, I think I have a lot more patience and confidence in a lot of people that don't have it in themselves. And I think I get that from the fact that I was a late bloomer, if you will. And so I have the utmost conviction and confidence in a lot of people I work with that don't see it in themselves, because I know they're just steps away from being there. And I constantly remind them of that and tell them, hey, you're going to get better at this. You're going to get better at this. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you're going to be 5 percentage points higher in your contract than 10 percentage points. You're going to be writing a little bit more premium. You're going to be kicking ass at this. And like, I can just speak with people with a lot of conviction and confidence. And I think a lot of it is because of where I came from. And just, I know people aren't their units. People aren't where they are. Like, your future does not equal your past. And there's going to be a lot that changes as long as you're willing to put in the hard work and you're willing to put in the time and the effort.
And that's a coach. That kind of conviction is what makes a coach, right? It's just, that's why people are like, well, if you think of like Steve Kerr, who won an NBA championship, several NBA championships as a player, it makes sense that he can do it as a coach, right? Because you can genuinely tell someone, hey, I know where you've been and I know what it takes. And believe me when I say you can too. Not to say that people who never struggled can't be good coaches. I'm just saying that there's a different angle that you can come at it with to say, I've been where you are. So that's brilliant.
It's the whole thing of like playing to your strengths, knowing what your strengths are and then using them. Like, that's just managing and coaching effectively. Like, I've got, like I mentioned and walked you through earlier, I had Brian Ross, Wade Floyd, Mark Rao, Dan Lehane at Family Heritage, and they all had different strengths. It's not like one strength is necessarily better than another. It's just like, what are your strengths for your personality? And are you using and you leaning on them? Or are you so focused on the areas you're not as good that you're worried and trying to get better in these areas? You're probably never really going to be, like, I'm never going to be Brian Harbin or Marcel Mayer or Wade Floyd or Mark Rao in a lot of ways, but I can be a pretty damn good Quintin Roberts, and that's enough to get my guys to where they need to be. I just need to be myself and believe in them, and it works really well. And again, that kind of is the lesson I think I learned from my fourth summer, is just be yourself, and who cares? Like, who cares what somebody else thinks about you? Just be yourself, and you'll do well.
That right there, that's the real. Maybe not. There's been so many good moments. That's really good. That and again, reflecting what you just said, I think of basketball again, where it's like, people are saying MJ is the best ever. Then LeBron was the best LeBron ever, but that's also really, really damn good. And then Steph Curry is also, from a whole different perspective, really good, right? So you don't need to be able to dunk to be amazing at basketball, right? Or you don't need to be a great 3-point shooter to be amazing at basketball. These guys are all good in their own way, and it's just enjoyable to watch someone be great at something. And so I can definitely tell that you're great at what you do. I can definitely tell that the work that you put in to get better is now, being reflected because you found out how to be your best version. And you're never there. It also sounds like you're continuously growing. Like the way that you come off is also like, hey, I'm still working on it, right? I'm not there yet. I'm just a little further ahead, but I can definitely tell you the way so far. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good for you, brother. Good for you, brother. Dang, that's awesome. Now, when you look back on your Southwestern career, is there anything that you wish would have been better, different, that you think that you could have? And if there's nothing, that's totally fine. It's just more like, I like asking this questions because this is something that, we know Southwestern wasn't perfect. And so for you, like you were talking about, and I'm asking this because at the beginning you were like, my wife said, what are you doing at Southwestern? So like, I feel like maybe this kind of leads into like, how the heck did you decide to leave? And maybe what were some things that could have been better that would have helped you stay?
I mean, ultimately, it's funny. I was thinking about this actually earlier today, Andres. I was dropping my kids off at daycare, and I was like thinking about this podcast we were going to have later, and thinking about how like there was a period of time where I really wanted to be a Southwestern sales manager, like having a positive impact on young people and making good money and hanging out with college kids and helping them grow and develop. Like that sounded awesome. And then I'm dropping my kids off, and I'm like, I'm living the life right now. I am a sales manager, but I'm a sales manager with most of my base and organization is 23 to 38 years old, and most of them under 32. And I drive and drop my kids off every day with my wife. And then I sit in my office and I work all day, and I love the people that I talk with, and I love coaching them. And then I'm done between 4 and 6. And then I'm spending time with my, 6-year-old, my 4-year-old, my almost 2-year-old. And then we have another one on the way. And it's like, that's what's most important right now is my family. My people are important. Don't get me wrong. Like I want nothing but the best for them. But like I am a sales manager now. I'm just not a sales manager with Southwestern. I'm making more money than I ever have, and I love what I do. But that 7th summer, I always give my wife crap about it just because it was like, so we're 7 summers in, I had a really good 5th summer. My team did really well. Again, I made it to the GRG trip, went to Panama, hung out with Travis and Matt Atchison down in Panama, and John Kerry, all these total studs. And then I went out for my 6th summer, and I put in the work. I was super proud of that team. It was 17 people. I thought they were way sharper than the year before, but dude, that summer, like in terms of production, was garbage. They probably did like 9,000 to 12,000 units. My 7th summer, I went out, brought out 13, 14, 15 people. I don't remember what it was. They didn't do particularly well. And so here I am 3 years into full timing, and I've got a base that's 25,000 units, which 25,000 sounds like a lot, but I think you needed like 75,000 units to be a DSM. And here I am again, Sammy Southwestern. And I'm like, let's go back. I'm going to get to be a DSM. And again, I joke, I say that my wife is like, what are you doing? She didn't say it like that, but like I needed it. It was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you going to do this the rest of your life until you get to 75,000 units? Are you just going to wait it out and try to inherit everyone's base? And be some guy that didn't build it but got there because other people quit and you got their bases. And so it wasn't like she was very real with me. And at that point in time, we had been dating for 2 years, long distance, her in Texas, me in Georgia. And so I was like, all right, you know what? She makes a valid point. I am 25,000 units, 7 summers in, nowhere close to my goal. And making 50, 60K, working a crap load of hours in the summer, a crap load of hours in the fall. I probably put more time, effort, and energy into recruiting than probably almost everyone else in Eagle Blitz. I would come to OL weekend with a stack of names that was like 6 to 12 inches tall. I would have 2,000 to 3,000 survey names before OL weekend started.
Wild.
So
that's wild. Just I don't have time to explain how crazy that is, but that's crazy.
Yeah, most people do their surveys in the spring, like, drop ad is the first week after, Christmas break. That's when everybody's surveying. I would survey then, but I would do that survey already having 2,000 to 3,000 names from the fall. Like
that's wild.
I never not succeeded for lack of effort. It was always just a lack of skill and ability. Which was fine. Like to me, that's fine. Like it's okay to fail because you're not good at things. It's not okay to fail because you didn't try hard enough. And so like I always felt like I did a good job. Any of my summers, like I'm not saying I was perfect every summer or I didn't get off track here or there. I was never really off schedule. And most of the time I never hit my goals. But again, it wasn't like I wasn't putting in the time or putting in the effort or putting in the energy, any of those things. I just, it was like I needed to grow and mature and learn in some ways. So ultimately, I talked to my wife and she was like, it'd be nice to live in the same state, maybe before we got married or engaged. And I was like, like I didn't have anything. There was like no good argument. It was not like, well, next year's going to be different than the previous 3. I'm going to get 30 commitments a night. I'm going to gather 7,000 names. You know, it was like, there wasn't something I could point to that I was doing wrong. And, you know, maybe that was part of God's providence or plan. Like I learned what I needed to learn. And I've heard several episodes. Do you ever feel like you sold too long or too many summers? And I don't really ever look at anything in life that way. I look at most things of like, even if you get your ass kicked or you totally screw stuff up, there is so much you can learn from every single last experience that you can learn from, grow from. And I don't think I put in too many summers. Even if I had put in another summer, I would have learned something from it, and I would have grown and been a better person because of it. I would have learned something from that maybe I learned, 4 years later, or that would have been able to make me a, better father, dad, husband, Christian, whatever, in some other way, shape, or form. But summer number 7 was it. Then I went to a third home. I did that for a period of time, and then went to Family Heritage, and that's when I finally started actually making some money. So
that's fair enough. You know, when you have you have to make a choice between your career and your potential wife, and she's making good points.
Yeah.
And you have really no good answers because there probably aren't any. Not that there's anything wrong with Southwestern, but it's just where you are at that moment in life. And you have to. I mean, listen, I'm proud of my brother and sister-in-law for, doing it. They have a kid. They have another one on the way, and they're still doing the DSM thing. That baby's traveling a lot. But it's interesting to me how you rarely remember seeing your DSMs with like super young kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like when you start getting to those crossroads in life where it's just like, I mean, right now you could do it because you have a toddler and he's traveling, but what happens when he has school? What happens when he starts doing sports? Like you can't just like pick him up and go to Nashville. You're gonna have to figure out a way. I'm not saying that there isn't a way, but oftentimes I always remember seeing DSMs kind of move on, even the people or like full timers move on when family started becoming more important. And so that's just an interesting dynamic. And it sounds like Jessica had like the right foresight on that, where she was like, hey, it'd be cool to live with you in the same city, and it'd be cool to kind of like get it sounds like she was saying let's figure this out and be serious about it. So it's and at that point, especially knowing Jessica, it's like, yeah, no duh, okay, let me go do something else.
I mean, she's obviously a total keeper.
She's awesome, man.
So she sold
super cool.
Yeah, so we sold together our first summer, and then she sold 6, I sold 7. So after her 6th summer, she was in PT school getting her doctorate, and I was selling books, and then I sold another summer. So again, like by the time I left Southwestern, she was in the middle of her 2nd year or towards the end of her 2nd year in PT school, and it was like we'd been dating for 2 years, and I'm the youngest of 5. Large Catholic family. I got a sister with 8 kids, a sister with 6 kids, a brother with 3 kids, a brother with 1. Like I've always wanted to have, a family, and like, to have a family, you kind of got to get married, So like she made she made some valid points. And it's like, at that point in time, you think about like 7 summers in, and I graduated on time in 4 years. I was 18 when I started college. So I guess I was 26 or 27 by that point in time. And it's not late in life, but it is relative. Like if you look at, people in the grand history of people, 27 is kind of late to settle down and start having kids. It's not late now in like the last 25 years, but in the grand scheme of things, it is. So,
if you want to have a big family, that you're starting to be like, hey, you need to start getting this together at the very least.
Yeah. And again, it's like I was making tons of money, like to be working that hard, making $55,000 a year. And it's funny is like, I always think about it with Southwestern back then is like, oh, this guy's a badass. See, this guy had the number 1 team. He was the number 8 sales guy. This guy made $55,000. Yeah. And now I'm like, that's like
it's because
that's like a crappy 2 months for me now. You know what I'm saying?
It's because they pitch it as you did that in the summer, but what isn't taken into account is you actually had been working.
You did a year's worth of work.
Half of the fall, all of the spring, of the spring. Not kind of some of the spring or half the spring or the work days during the spring. I'm talking all of the spring. for people who don't understand the schedule, yet after GRS specifically, you go as a full timer, and literally by 8 in the morning, you're doing surveys.
Yeah.
Like you're on because there's classes at 8 in the morning, and they have large lecture halls. So you're like passing out surveys. You got to be there by 7:40. To even have gotten there, you have to start phoning for professors to let you into the school or to the classroom to do the survey. You do the surveys, then there's another lecture at 9, another lecture at 10, another lecture at 11. Every top of the hour, usually you're like going to a lecture. In the afternoons, you're doing appointments because you're doing first interviews, info sessions, second day interviews, follow-ups, parent visits, parent calls, right? And then at night, you're phoning from like 5 to 9:30, 10 o'clock because you're talking to college students, you're phoning. And then you go to sleep and you wake up and you do it all over again. On Saturdays, you go do parent visits because there's kids that come to school in Georgia, but their parents live in North Carolina. So you got to go make that parent visit, right? And you got to make, and then you're doing that. If you're not doing that Sundays, you're phoning from 12 in the afternoon. It's not an off day. You're phoning from like 12 in the afternoon to like 10 p.m. at night again, because that's what you're getting. You're getting those kids committed for that Monday, because you want to have a strong Monday. To have 30 to 40 commits, you need a Monday with like 15 of them, because nobody's going to want to come into an info session a Friday in the afternoon. It's Friday. You're in a college campus. Fuck off. You might as well not even have info sessions at that point. So just for people who don't understand what we're talking about, that's what a full-timer schedule looks like. And you're doing that from like October, but if you're taking it off and easy, you're doing that from no later than January to sales school in May.
Yeah.
And then you're probably the OL because you're a full-timer, which means you're doing more than just selling. At the end of the day ends at 9:30, 10 o'clock, but then you're also doing all the phone stats. You get to bed at 11 p.m. And then you do that not just till August, because you're not going to school anymore. You're going to stay out there till September so you can hit the units that you need to hit, do the sales you need to hit, clean up back at checkout from all your org and all your team. And then you go to VIP trip. You take a month off and you go to Sizzler. Like, that is your real time off. Is you're like a teacher, but your time off is from like October to December. And if you want to get ahead of the game, like Mr. Roberts here, who had 3,000 names by the spring, you're doing that all year round. So to make $55,000 for that, yeah, that fucking sucks. That's garbage. We've never explained that on the air, but that's honestly, we've talked about this a lot. Southwestern people don't get paid shit.
That was an excellent summation, Andres. Very good job.
Thank you, sir. Even if you made 200,000, that's not a lot for all. If you did that, if you got down, put your head down for a year as a single person, and you did that in the insurance business, in the solar business, in real estate, and whatever, you would make $1 million. Like $1 million. And if you were that good, where you got 14 people, like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're kind of getting paid. Okay, it's not good. Sorry, it's not good.
Yeah, it's like you hate to say it, like, because it was so good at the time and it seems so good, and you're getting like praise and recognition, and they want you holding parts, and they're like, this guy's great at this, and it's, and again, it's not even it's not a shot at Southwestern, because again, like myself included, like, I owe so much to Southwestern. I learned so much from the leaders and the mentors and the experience I had, and you wouldn't trade any of the experience for any amount of dollars, because there's not a dollar amount that can replace what you learn while you're going through it.
No, absolutely. No. On that note, 100%, because I paid UNL like 60 grand to teach me my economics and math that I got, but I couldn't, for that amount, I would pay 3 times that to learn what I learned. Right. So it, give and take. It pays you in experience tokens, as they like to say. And it's probably one of the best experiences you can have as an entrepreneur, bar none, probably. But don't do it for the money.
No,
don't do it for the money. You're doing it to change lives, to help people grow, maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, even the sales managers, like, like with Pedro, I've never asked him personally, hey, what were you making then versus what are you making now? And again, when you think about how much time the guy was away from his wife and his kids and having to travel and this, that, or the other, all that has a cost to that. It's not easy to calculate, but
yeah.
But no, Southwestern was great. Obviously led me to where I'm at today, led me to a lot of the relationships I had today, a lot of the skills. I wouldn't have met Nick Dale and, Pedro Vega if it weren't for Southwestern. I wouldn't have met Dan Lahane, my manager at Family Heritage, if it weren't for that, or Larry Salerno or any of the guys.
Wife.
My wife. Yeah. Don't forget her. She's, in the matter of importance, she's up there,
tied for second at least.
At
No doubt.
least, at the least, you know.
For sure. Now that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I feel like that's a good bow to put on the Southwestern part, and we can move into some ponytails unless you got more stuff to share.
I don't. I mean, in terms of like there's, I guess you normally have like the ponytails, and then there's funny stories, and there's like kind of two different things. I kind of start with the funny stories because we've been doing more serious stuff now. But my funny story is probably more from it was my sixth.
So this is your starting your ponytails, or you got more stories?
This is more of like a funny story, but I almost
okay.
It's kind of like not a sad story. It's like kind of like your like crappy event that happened, you know, that's like funny in hindsight, not so funny when you're going through it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like,
I feel that.
Did you have one of those? I feel like I've never heard you talk about that.
Like the moment I kind of quit or thought about quitting, and
like your crappiest moment or crappiest experience with Southwestern. You know, maybe I don't know if that's a story for another day, or if you're allowed to get into that.
No, I don't give a shit. I can tell. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be in the summer, but it was a moment where I was like, "This is bullshit." Like that is what you're asking about? Like, yeah. Okay, after my third summer now, mind you, I take full responsibility where I need to here, because my first and second summer I was pretty on schedule. Like first summer, no doubt. Second summer, pretty solid. I mean, I don't think I ever got off schedule or did anything like really too late. I probably didn't lock as late as my first summer, but it still worked. My third summer, dude, I was going to the movies. I was like not working at all. It was that all of that and how much I made was on me. But what really frustrated me was I saw what you get treated as when you sell a lot of books relatively. Like for first year, I was like in the top 10 my first year, right? I had a 5-person team that did decent. Like I wasn't breaking any records, but you're kind of like when you're like the top first year of the campus or something, you're kind of put it up. If you're on the pace setter, right? You're like kind of like royalty in a way, or celebrity in a way.
You are, yeah.
And I'm not saying that about me. I'm just saying in general, that's kind of the culture. But what sucks is I thought that a lot of those people were my friends because I was like a person worthy of being friends with, not because I was selling a lot of books. And this isn't true of everyone I knew in Southwestern. But that third summer, when I was super off schedule, including my own brother, like there was a lot of like, whoa, you are no longer a cool kid. You are no longer one of us.
Shit.
You are no longer, yeah. And that sucks. That really, that was mid 2014. Now things have changed from what I understand, so I can't speak for it right now. But at least in my experience, from what I remember, people that used to send me Christmas cards, didn't hear from them that Christmas. People who used to like there's people who invited me to their wedding, whose wedding I was at, that I had met, who after that I didn't really hear from again. Like they didn't really my own brother like didn't call me for my birthday. And we've talked about that. I think we've even talked about that
schedule.
Yeah. And we talked about that even with Danny on the air, but you know, he was younger than me, and in his life he had never seen me fail, like miserably, like eat shit. And so like he didn't know how to handle that. He told me that once. He was like, I didn't know how to handle your failure. Like you always succeeded at what you did, and so you ate shit and I didn't know what to do. So but yeah, that was probably the worst moment because I owed the company money and I had no money. And so then like I left checkout like broke beyond broke, because I had not only like they gave me $400 to get home, because I was like, hey, I owe you guys $1,000 and I have no money to get home. Like
that
I don't know what to do. And I didn't want to call my parents. My parents were just going through a divorce. Like I left checkout, I got $400, and I'm like gonna call my mom to ask her for money. And she goes, I go, hey, I'm on my way back to Grand Island. And she goes, well, don't come to the house because it's no longer our house. I know you like to tell us to not tell you negative things throughout the summer because you're supposed to focus on positive stuff, but your dad and I sold the house. The divorce is over, and like, I don't really have a, like, you can stay at my place, but you should call him and figure out things are tight. And so I was like, I'm not going to ask for money now. So literally it was just this feeling of total emptiness, loss. And it lasted like a month because I mean, again, I didn't get invited to any VIP trips. Nobody called to check in on me to see if I was okay. Like it was The first phone call I got from anybody in Southwestern was my brother on my birthday, because he wanted my ID to get into bars at like get backs because he was underage. Yeah, it wasn't like happy birthday, nothing. I mean, none of them.
Did he forget that it was your birthday?
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, nobody talked to me. It was crazy. I finally talked to some other guy that was in the org, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And it was right before the awards banquet, and I was like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, well, they updated me that way. I wasn't invited back. Nothing. Now, again, I'm probably being too harsh. There were some people, like I said, I'm not trying to say this with everyone that I knew in Southwestern, but just like some of the core people that I expected to be like there for me, nothing, bro. And I remember that's why I was like, I'm not coming back. This is some bullshit. I was dating a girl at the time. I'm not going to name any names on she was from Missouri, but she had one of her managers like did not like me. She didn't sell a lot of books either, and so she was living in Missouri, and I was like, I have no place to stay. I got to my house. My mom had a box of my shit and my dog, and she's like, I can't keep him here. The apartment won't let us keep dogs. And so I had $400, dude, and I didn't know what to do. So I asked my girlfriend if I could stay with her for a few weeks or a month or whatever until I got back on my feet. Went to Missouri. I used to work at a trade home, which is like a shoe store, only regional in the Midwest. And I just knew that I could do that really well. Went back to work there, and I started to get back on my feet. I made a lot of money doing that, more money doing that than selling books, because I just had experience now with selling, and I crushed it there for 4 months. I paid the company back. And then I moved back to Lincoln after Christmas. Yeah, it just sucked.
Yeah, Andre Salbundy Gamboa, the shoe salesman over there.
Yes, sir. And again, I get the fault that I need to take up and take ownership for. Like, I was way off schedule, so no wonder I didn't sell any books, and no wonder I owed money. Totally. Yeah. And I was in the hospital that summer. It was a whole crazy shit. Like, I was in the hospital for it was not good. But again, where I needed to show up, I didn't, right? But where people needed to show up for me to be like, because I was obviously not okay for some reason, right? And nobody was like, hey, like, you sell books well, and you sold no books. What the hell happened? Like, nobody was there. Nobody. Other people were there to still talk to me, and I kept in touch and didn't treat me any different. But I don't think anybody really stepped in and was like, are you okay? Like, what the fuck just happened to you? So that was rough. That was really rough. And again, I'm not saying this is everyone's experience. I'm not saying that this is normal. I'm not saying this still happens. But for me, that summer, for that month and a half, really nothing. Terrible. Yeah, it sucked. It was not fun. Andrew Williamson, I will make an exception. Andrew Williamson was there for me. Was probably the only person I can think of specifically. Who, by the way, he's been on the show. Love you, Andrew, if you're listening. But he was living in Missouri too, and he was like my guy friend, because I had a girlfriend and the dude to go catch baseball games with and drink some beer and talk about life. That over those conversations, that's kind of what really helped me out. He worked the trade home as well, and so it was like a cool that's where we got tight. So anyway, that's that story. To answer your question, did I ever have a shitty moment? Yeah.
There you go. Well, no, I think it's good for like the audience to know. It's good for me to know, like the shit you went through. Yeah, my moment's not really like that at all. My crappy moment in the field, it was just like crappy stuff happening while I was on the field. So like it was my fifth summer. No, my fifth summer was my good year. My sixth summer was awful. It was coming off of that. And this is towards the end of the summer. I've had several rookies quit. I've had a couple managers quit, and I got arrested. I think it was like a Saturday the first time, and then I got arrested again the next Friday or Saturday or Thursday or whatever it is. I don't remember very clearly now, but I know they arrested me for something I didn't do. They arrested me for deception, like telling people that I was from the school, which obviously I wasn't. So shout out to my man, Patrick Dichter out there. I don't think you've had him on the show, but he picked me up from jail twice in less than 7 days, my sixth summer out on the field. And a couple wild things happened kind of to make it more difficult. And one was like, so I get arrested and they bring me into jail. And so like this is the age of cell phones, and they took my cell phone. So I didn't have my cell phone. So naturally I call home. That's the only number, one of the only numbers that I have memorized. But something happened, Andres, with like the cell phone system in Indiana, the jail system. I called home and it cut me off, and the line was disconnected. And so the Indiana jail system wouldn't let me call home. So I had to dial another number I had memorized, which was my like parents' family friend, the Horvaths. And so I call home. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I have to call my parents' friends to let them know I'm in jail. And so it's between like 9 and 11 p.m. They call my parents. My parents don't know who to call. So they end up calling Jessica because we're dating at the time. And then Jessica calls like my sales manager, and then calls Patrick Dichter. And, Patrick Dichter has to come and pick me up. But bottom line is I had to spend the night in jail. He came and got me the next morning.
Brutal.
And then 5 or 6 days later, I moved from Stark County, Indiana to Knox County, Indiana, or maybe it was the opposite. And they arrest me again and throw me in jail. So I essentially got arrested the second time because I got arrested the first time. They arrested me again for deception, for saying I was from the school. And if you think, Andres, it's embarrassing to call your family friend because you got arrested once, imagine calling them twice, because the Indiana the jail system has put my parents' number off. So here I am talking to Mr. and Mrs. Horvath, my mom's neighbor 5 doors down. This is the second time in 6 days I've called them to let them know.
I'm in jail again.
Oh my God. Hey, Miss Horvath, could you let my mom know I'm in jail again? So sure enough, rinse and repeat. Horvaths get a hold of my mom and dad. My mom and dad get a hold of my wife. My girlfriend at the time, Jessica, calls my sales manager, calls Patrick Dichter. So Dichter ends up picking me up for the second time. And the thing that made it, so this was towards the end of the summer, and granted, I'm the OL. And I got arrested. I don't remember if it was the first or the second time, but I got arrested on a Saturday night. They couldn't get me out of jail until late morning on Sunday. And this Sunday,
okay.
And Sunday was delivery school.
Rough, dude.
So I'm in Indiana. I'm in jail. It's 10, 11. Patrick gets me out of school, out of jail, and it's delivery school for my entire organization. There's nothing like, saying how important delivery school is when your OL is busy being in jail. Kind of an important a meeting to miss. Now, shout out to my man, Manny Gonzalez, who I still stay in touch with. He was running an organization in Southern Indiana. So he ran delivery school for my org and his org. But it's crazy because like the cops were digging around in my car both times, which of course, like this is my 6th summer. This is the end of the summer. I deliver books on the spot. So here I am with my, I think I was driving my Honda Accord at the time, my mom's Honda Accord that I bought from her. And it's just, it's crammed full of books because I'm a damn door-to-door book salesman. I've got a names list in there. I've got a bail bondsman in the local area that's a client of mine on the list. And it was crazy because like just getting arrested twice in that period of time, showing up late for delivery school because I'm in jail. It totally rocked my confidence, for that summer. It was funny because like Gary Barr, the Southwestern lawyer, he found a local defense attorney for me. And it was funny because the defense attorney is going through my names list and he's like, oh my God, that guy bought that. Like he knows them all. This is typical small town shit, Southwestern, where everybody knows each other. And he's like, holy cow, how did you sell to that guy? Or there's no way that guy's going to come through with the books. Don't even count on that guy. That guy's not going to have any money. He's been in here a bunch of times. And again, it's 2 different jails in 2 different counties because after I got arrested in one, I was like, well, I got to go to the next county. And it was crazy, man. I was sitting in jail all night. I'm writing letters to people. I'm writing letters to Lee McCroskey and Dan Moore, Tabitha Taylor, my sales managers. Shit. Like, I'm not used to having so much free time on the book field, but you're sitting in jail. You can't do any demos while you're in there.
That's hilarious.
Dude, it was definitely a confidence rocker.
Yeah.
I had to pay my defense attorney. I had to pay all the fees associated with it. I lost a lot of selling time. I mean, I had to pay to get my car out of impound twice, because I got arrested when I'm sitting in a house or at a door, and they're not just going to leave my car in this person's driveway, so they call the tow company. It probably impacted some of my delivery percentage, but at that point in time, I'm an OL. This is my job. I've got to go out and make money. But after you get arrested once or twice, you're looking in your sales manager. And honestly, what happened was after the second time, Gary Pear told me I just needed to get out of the state. It was actually kind of part of my misdemeanor offense that I couldn't be in Stark County or what. And again, it was all over deception. Cause you sit down or you talk with families at the door, you say, I'm talking to all the families here in, Knox County about education. And people hear what they think you say, so they think you say I'm with the county, I'm with Knox County, which I had a letter from Dan Moore, the president of Southwestern, to the judge telling me this guy's a good guy. He's been with our company for 6 years. He's paying his way through college or whatever it is. I ended up having to drive out to Minnesota where my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, Jessica, was at to finish my summer because Southwestern was like, you can't stay.
You gotta leave, bro. Yeah, no way.
But every year at OL weekend, Mark Rao gives out 3 awards. He gives out OL of the year, and he gives out rookie OL, and then he gives out, the toilet bowl award. Well, I had won the rookie OL year of the award the year before because badass team, bunch of top first years, bunch of people getting on, hitting growth as managers, Sizzler. I definitely won the toilet bowl that year. I think I had 3 managers quit that year. I had a lot of my first years quit. I got arrested twice. I missed delivery school. And, I had just won GRG the year before, went to Panama. So it was you have your crappy moments, but that was my 6th summer. I still came back and did one more summer. So, just sticking things out, finishing things up regardless of the way you feel. I don't feel like I made a very big deal about it other than Patrick, who picked me up from jail. I think we maybe shared it with 1 or 2 of the managers. They didn't even know I had been to jail. But, it's usually things are never as bad as they seem. And in time, hopefully these things kind of just become a funny story. But in general, a lot of people that know me, they may think I'm negative because of my sense of humor. But in general, I'm a very positive guy in terms of crappy situations. You can learn a ton from them. But I would say that was kind of just a funny story that summer getting arrested. I don't remember the days, but I remember thinking arrested twice in 6 days in 2 different jails, spending the night, Patrick picking me up.
That's rough, man. You better have memorized Patrick's phone number after that.
It's, this is something that I wanted to ask you about. So I don't know if you still pay attention to Southwestern Uncensored.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it's probably a month ago now. I get a call from a guy selling books, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. I'm kind of curious to see how the Southwestern community feels about people nowadays post-COVID trying to sell books before the summer. Because Patrick Dichter called me up because I referred someone to Patrick Dichter and he bought books from him. But when he asked the rookie, did he buy books? And I didn't buy books because I bought books 3-4 years in a row. I've hosted kids. I got a pair of Explore and Learns or a set of Explore and Learns sitting on my shelf. I got FBLs. I got several sets of Mufu's, my books, Ask Me's. I was kind of curious what you think about all these kids nowadays, basically just hitting up alumni, just trying to take them to the cleaners just because they sold books over the phone. We're not talking about somebody knocking on your door now. We're talking about calling you on the phone. You want to buy a set of books because the alumni right now, they're getting blasted.
Here's my thought. If a book kid knocks on my door ever and they're selling books, at the very least I'm buying a Mufu, right? If I have kids, because I don't have kids, but once I have kids and stuff and a kid knocks on my door, I'm gonna buy the bag. It's dude, I'm gonna probably put them through the ringer. No. Second approach me. But this is bullshit. Use your names. Come on, man. It's mine. Start over. I'm gonna close the store. And I'm saying that because I understand the grind, and I understand that grind, and I understand that maybe I'm the person that they needed to have that bag bought from. You know, like you never know when a kid needs a sale, right? It could be first year, it could be a manager, no matter. The whole idea of calling me for my friends, that feels it does feel a little intrusive. And I am only saying that because after you do this for a while, you know, we're 140 episodes almost in at this point, and you understand what Southwestern is and isn't, good, bad, ugly, whatever, however you want to split it. But there's no doubt that the most generous thing you can say about Southwestern Advantage's relationship with its alumni, the most friendly word that you can say is complicated. And that's just putting it super lightly and leaving out a lot of context. But they make money from college kids selling books. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a fine business model. It's worked for 160 years, right? But then you're intentionally asking them to speak out, to find us who did this program, and tugging at those heartstrings of like, I know how hard that is, so I kind of want to help. But at the same time, it's like, hey, look, I left and you promised me, and this is kind of where the show really gets its like mission is, we're trying to be, you know, they told you when you're selling books, there's 100,000 living alumni and you're going to have access to this amazing network. And then you leave and it's like crickets. Relatively, right?
No,
and the reason that this show exists, the reasons that you got 4 recruits out of the show, the reason that people are willing to invest in our program and what we do here is because they still believe in that network in some way, shape, or form, but they know they're not going to get access to it or help from it from them. Right now, again, shout out to Ben Kessler and Hans Schlegel and anybody that's working at Thinking Ahead. And they do provide a lot of assistance. If you're an alumni and you need help with like resume and stuff, go check them out. No doubt. I please do. But there is something to be said. Like the question we always ask is, there's 100,000 living alumni. Where are they? Right.
Mhm.
So now, they're everywhere. And you can call them and get them to buy books over the phone, or get them to give you their friends' names who have kids so you could sell people over the phone. All of the sudden, those 100,000 alumni showed up somewhere. Somehow you tracked us down, or you're still tracking us down. You're actively asking kids to get referrals from other alumni. You're finding these people because now there's an interest for you to do so. And that feels a little shitty. It feels a little like, hey, come on now.
Yeah.
Like you left me alone, so continue to do so. Corporate,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I kind of
know.
felt like from the uncensored group, a lot of people felt I felt like, because Patrick Dichter was trying to call me out on it, which is fine. We're good friends. He picked me up from jail, so like I don't mind being called up by Pat. But it was like ultimately, like, I mean, how many times are you going to approach me about buying books over the phone? Like, it's one thing for somebody to like come and knock on my door or walk through my gate up my long ass driveway to come and sell me books. I'll buy books from you all day long. But if you're going to call me on the phone and try to sell me a set of books that I actually already own, maybe even own 2 sets of, it's tough, you know, because that's not where we learned what we learned with Southwestern. We didn't learn by calling people that were sensitive to our situation because they went through it and they want to be the cool dad. We learned it from dealing with the people that were like, I don't know you shit. I don't know you. Right. I don't know who you are. I don't even want you in my house, but you've made a good first impression. I know these people on my list. Come in the door, and if these books look good, I'll buy them.
Now, full disclosure, so Jacob Levine is a big fan of the show, and he's been a big fan of the show. Like, he shared her stuff. He follows us along. He's probably listened to every episode. He's probably listening to this right now. So shout out to you, Jacob. He got me a ticket to go to a Formula One race. Like, he's a pal. He's been a friend of the show for a long time. And to that, because he's been supportive and he's been there from like the beginning, I gave him names of people, friends of mine, who are like, hey, if you should call these, no problem. I have no problem doing that. And that's not because he did something for me specifically. It's because he understands that like there's more to life than Southwestern Advantage. And so he's not afraid to connect himself into the alumni network, even while he's still selling books. Right. There are people, there are DSMs, I know this for a fact because I've been told, who have been told not to listen to this show while they sell books or whatever. And I'm like, that's stupid. because it's too neg. Well, if you think this is too neg for your kids that are selling books, then they're not ready to go to the bookfield. Like, what are you fucking doing? Like, overall, generally speaking, and I had a kid. There's a Reddit there's a Reddit user. I don't even know who it is, but they had a good few summers, and they wrote about how negative the experience is. And I'm like, you want to come on the show and talk about that? And they're like, your podcast is, and pardon my French, this is where we can be explicit, but the guy's like, your podcast is a circle jerk. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, you're probably right, because most people that are on the show have been pretty generally positive about Southwestern, which, because nobody wants to say anything negative due to whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like we've had some real conversations about the experience. But all of that to say, like, the people who are in the company, they're like, don't listen to that. It's like, oh, well, like, you're not helping about the alum. I'm helping you. Like, this is net positive for you, probably. Right.
Yeah.
There's people doing amazing things in Cardinal. There's the other companies who are not your sister companies that are doing incredible things, and you're not helping them. And you should invest in your alumni, because they're going to pour back into something that they believe in. And that's not a relationship. That's a reality. And because of that, it's like, don't have your kids call me about fucking names. Like, who are you?
Well, I think where I come at is probably the same angle a lot of people do. We kind of, I think, all felt really bad during the COVID times, but like, I think ultimately what I wrote on Southwestern Uncensored was like, I work with a team of agents that are knocking on doors day in and day out to make a living. Why are you guys calling me on the phone trying to sell shit over the phone? Get out there and knock on some damn doors. Like,
right.
Like, COVID
and here's the thing. If
Yeah.
it works and it works to sell over the phone, well, fucking do it. That's fine. But don't like ask me for help. I'm gone. Like, how dare you look back? It's here's the thing. It's exactly like this. It's the same thing as your university calling you after you graduate for money. It's like, no. And John Mulaney has a good bit about this on his stand-up. I'd go recommend it. But the gist of it is, look, I paid you for education and you gave me education. So now you're asking me to give you more money, but you're not giving me any more education. So no, the only reason that you want me to be your friend is because I gave you money, or so that's what you've made me feel. So no, like, sorry, but no, that's not how it works. The end of transaction. And that's when I left, and the way you were dark with me, I don't blame you for it, because at the end of the day, it's a business. So the fact that it was dark after I did shitty, from a business owner standpoint, that makes sense. I wasn't making you money. I was costing you money. And so if you don't want to talk to me, I'm fired. That's it. No, nobody's mad when Walmart doesn't keep up with them after they get fired. Right? it's fine. Right.
Yeah.
But that's like Walmart calling the person they fired going, hey, do you know anybody that needs to buy again? Like, no, how fucking dare you? How dare you? Like, get out of my face. So anyway, that's the same analogy, I feel like. But
do you know
maybe
anyone
it's harsh.
you know anybody that wants to buy some low quality produce with, rotten spots on them?
Yeah, and probably kill some and exploits the poor children in another country. Yeah, no, go fuck off. Anyway, good question though. Thank you for asking that. Thank you for asking that. That was a good discussion right there. Appreciate it.
There you go.
Appreciate it. Ah, man. I need to use the restroom, but it might be time for ponytails.
It is. I kind of need to use the restroom too. Are we allowed to both go?
Listen, here's how it's gonna go. I'm gonna do some ads. You go use the restroom, and then when you get back, you can tell your story. I'll just get off camera. I'll still be able to hear you because you're on my headphones, but I'll just be off screen.
Okay, we're doing pony stories after this, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, and I'll probably be back before you're done with your ads.
Sounds good. Actually, it's not ads; it's tips of the week. But yes, absolutely.
All
right. We start out with tip of the week. If on getting a website and getting an integration, VDisain is the group to do it with. Oscar and Oliver Reynes. Oscar Koha, he's currently selling books. Oliver Reynes is an alumni. They're the masterminds behind our website, theponytailspodcast.com. If you want a business, if you want to have an effective presence online, obviously you need a good website, and you can get one for cheap, but that's if you just want a basic landing page that doesn't really do much. If you want like one that has integrations, funneling, lead generation, CRM, all that jazz integrated into it, stores, maybe if you're selling products, and you need it to build your company's website, man, I can't recommend these guys enough. And that'll cost anywhere between $25,000 to $50,000. But with us, it was a fraction of the price because they are Estonian. So I would definitely recommend you guys going into there, checking them out. They have a solid funnel and traffic integrations for all of your business needs. check them out. Also, shout out to EnLight.Energy. Julio Hernandez has been talked about on the show. Wanted to give him a shout out. He was our first ever sponsor. If you guys have a passion for the planet, desire to earn good money, and you want to work with someone like Nick Taverdi, Alex Black, or Julio, you need to join them at EnLight.Energy. A sale every other week. Every other week. If you have one sale, that's a 6-figure income. Imagine. So you have the ability to work with people in every state. Plus, you're not selling anything in addition. You're just making people and helping people save money. So that's big. And then the last shout out over to Cardinal. And Quentin kind of talked about this a little bit, but yeah, when they started, they had 27 agents, 31 now after they started working with us. And that's pretty awesome that we're able to help them out that way. So one of the main reasons that they are having such good success with alumni is because of the culture. So they get good culture. And of course, the systems that they have that we discussed earlier in the episode, you guys definitely have good stuff going on there in Cardinal. But just so you guys know, and to give you kind of an idea, the numbers bear out every single week. Their top performers have been grossing between 12 to 15,000, and they're working about 31 to 34 hours a week. So they're in growth mode. They're looking to double again in 2022. And if you want to find out why so many people, our former people, are going to Cardinal, go ahead and refer yourself for a friend. We can promise you a job at all. I'm not saying that you're going to get a job with them, but for sure an interview, and you can interview with Quentin and get a $500 referral bonus for referring someone. So absolutely. Let me bring Quentin back on here, brother. All right, my man. Time for the ponytails. I don't know if you have one or multiple, but mic is yours, my friend. I'm going to have you in my ear, and I'll be off screen. I'll be back in a second.
Thank you, Andres.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in terms of a pony story, I mean, obviously my biggest pony story, I sold for 7 summers. I sold a decent amount of books over that time period, but obviously my pony story would be the wife. Everybody that sold around that time knows exactly who she was. At the time, her name was Jessica Lackey. Now she's Jessica Roberts. I mean, her first summer, she hit Mort Utley Award. Her 5th week of her first summer, she wrote, I think, just shy of 7,000 units her first summer. Her best summer was our 4th summer. She was the co-OL with Travis Thompson. I was a AOL, or just a manager in the org. She ended up selling just under 10K her 4th summer. And obviously, as you guys know, units are the way we judge character and value around Southwestern. But she's a great girl. She's an awesome wife, an incredible mom. She comes from an awesome family. I'm really good friends with her brother, Dillon. He sold for 9 summers. We worked together after Southwestern for 6 years at Family Heritage. I think he was there for 7 years. But we knew each other our first summer. We weren't really all that good of friends. And honestly, it's kind of funny thinking back on her first summer. Her brother told her actually to stay away from the Georgia rookies. Again, I mentioned earlier on the pod that it was like 60 plus rookies. We had 60 plus rookies. There was 3 rookies from Texas A&M that sold over $4,000. There was Jess that sold just shy of 7. Colin Wright that sold over 4. Jared Justice sold over 4. So Justin, her brother told her to stay away from the Georgia guys because we had so many people quit. I mean, my team was from Georgia. I was on a 20-man team. Sean's manager, Brian Harbin, had a 20-man team. And then our second summer, we were in the same state but different orgs. She was in kind of Western Michigan. I was in Central and East Michigan. Our third summer, she was basically the AOL of the group. OL was Todd Purcell. And then our 4th summer, I was in her org again. She was the the co-OL, I guess, that year with Travis Thompson. She was the 4th summer. And that's really probably when we became much, much closer, not like in a romantic way or anything like that. We became actually really, really good friends our 4th summer. Spent a lot of time together, like, on the Sizzler trip, various get back meetings. And then really after our 4th summer, we did this badass road trip. It started, Andres, in Jacksonville, Florida at OL weekend. Nice. And it was like a 12 to 15,000 mile road trip. So I drove to Jacksonville, Florida, because I'm from Atlanta area. She flew in there. We started off the week with OL weekend, and then we drove to Atlanta. We spent a little bit of time with my parents. And then really over the next 6 to 8 weeks, we drove from Atlanta to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Actually, when I started the road trip, I had a girlfriend. She dumped me not too far into it. And then Jess was taking a class in College Station. So we had to get back to College Station for her to take her class. We ended up going through Lubbock, Texas, which is kind of in the panhandle.
Yeah.
That's where Texas Tech is. We went and visited.
Nicole Wingard is previous on the show. She's from Lubbock. Yep. Awesome.
I don't know her. What was her name?
Nicole Wingard. She was Miss Texas, or a runner-up for Miss Texas. She's from Lubbock. She's been on the show, sold books. Super cool. Yeah. She's doing really cool stuff. But yeah, Lubbock, I was like, who would ever mention Lubbock? But there you are.
Well, Lubbock. So Travis Thompson recruited out of Lubbock. So we took a trip there. And my fourth summer, one of my roommates was Zach Taylor. He sold, I think, over 4,000 units. He was a rookie. He was one of Travis Thompson's rookies, but he lived with me. We became really close that summer. So we went and saw him. A girl named Valerie Wasfiler came and hung out with us. We drove from Lubbock to Colorado Springs, Colorado, where we visited another book guy, Adam Newbern, and we went up to Denver from there, hung out with some more book people there. Dictor, Eliov, Ed Sellers was really probably the main person we saw who we sold books with. And then from there, we went to Yellowstone, spent a couple nights there with my brother-in-law, Dillon Lackey, and John Thomas. We actually broke in to they have this big-ass building next to Old Faithful, which is like the guys there. We broke into the kitchen. We took out like tablecloths, and we set them up on the counters. We slept, me and Jess and John Thomas and Dillon, we slept in the kitchen of the cafeteria at Yellowstone.
That's pretty badass.
It was cool. We stayed there.
Road trip's killing.
It was badass. It was a cool trip. Me and John tried to sneak up on an elk. It scared the shit out of us, but we were there for a couple of days. Then we drove from Yellowstone to Seattle, Washington. The older brother that I talked about earlier that told me to go to do internships, my brother Clay, he was dating a girl in Seattle. She was working for Microsoft, but we spent a couple of days there, drove up to Vancouver, Canada. And then we drove down. We stayed in the redwoods in Northern California for a couple days. Drove all the way down through like San Francisco. We didn't get to see the other big ass trees, the sequoias. We didn't get to see the sequoias, but we drove through California, drove through, went over to the Grand Canyon. We stayed at the northern rim, went through the petrified forest, which is very underwhelming if you haven't been there. Like, I pictured the petrified forest like Woody Woodpecker went there and he like broke his beak on the petrified wood. That's not what the petrified forest looks like. It's like a bunch of fucking rocks on the ground. Like, it's just a damn desert. So don't waste your money in the petrified forest. And then we made our way back to Texas. But again, it was like a 12 to 15,000 mile trip. And again, when we started the trip, we were just really, really good friends. We had spent our first summer in the same org, second summer in the same state, third and fourth summer in the same org. Became really, really good friends after the fourth summer. Fifth summer, we were both OLs in different orgs. I was in West Virginia. She was in Kentucky and just Kentucky. And then we did the road trip. And it was funny. We started off that road trip in Jacksonville, which is where Brian Harbin and his wife, Jen Mangason or Jen Harbin lived. And they were like, "Are you guys like dating?" And we were like, no, not at all. We had no interest in each other. It wasn't like that. We weren't like, no, I don't care. It wasn't like we weren't like kids. We were just like, no, we have no interest in each other. Like, I had a girlfriend at the time. She kind of had an interest in another dude at the time. Like, these were things we talked about. And by the end of the road trip, my girlfriend broke up with me. She wasn't as interested in the other guy. The road trip ended around October, and then like January of 2010, like New Year's Day, me and Jess were playing basketball in her brother, my brother-in-law Dillon Lackey's garage. Like, he had these like dual setup basketball goals that you see at like an arcade, and that's when we started dating. And then here we are now. That was 2010. We got married in 2013. We'll be married 9 years now in September. We got 3 kids. We got 1 on the way. So that's definitely the pony story right there. I mean, of all the guys I know, that married book girls, none of them have married somebody that sold more at their first summer. So like, I'm fortunate in that regard. I mean, I'm a closer,
And because units It's obviously the best one. You obviously got the best book chick because she sold the most the first summer. Clearly, no other.
Like during that time period, I don't know if there's an Eagle Blitz girl that sold more books than my wife. And the thing about Jess is like everybody loves her. Like some people say, oh, like everybody loves Jessica. She's just like
Jessica is so cool.
She's so cool. She's really cool. She's nice. Everybody loves her. Like a funny story on that. So our sixth summer, she stopped selling after that. I can't remember if it was OL weekend after our 6th or 7th summer. We'd always do an OL weekend in Jacksonville because that's where Mark Rao lives. And he'd rent like a badass hotel. And going out when you're like dating someone and they're not there is like not a lot of fun. And Fireball had not yet been invented. So, so like I didn't go out. I probably went to bed early, and I'm not as much of a reader now. I like to read, but I would read. I remember waking up early and going to the pool an OL weekend, and like I had my book out, and I was sitting in the chair early in the morning at OL weekend when everybody like partied the night before, just reading my book, and I probably had 15, 20 people walk by me like early mid morning, being like, "Oh, what are you reading?" And it's funny. Everybody, Andres, asked me 2 questions. They would ask me, what are you reading? And then they'd ask, where's Jessica? Because like nobody really cared to talk to me. And this wasn't like a new evolution. Like we had been dating for over a year now. And like, I'm just not the kind of guy like people gravitate to. Like people may or may not find me funny now, but like, it's not like people are like, let's go hang out with Quentin. He's a
who we need to have this party light up.
Exactly.
You're not that guy. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Like my wife always jokes with people. She was like, yeah, my Quentin, when I met him, he would buy his shoes from Walmart. He'd buy white Velcro shoes. That's not true, but she's true in a sense, like, but it's funny. So I was sitting by the pool, and after the second person walked by and said, they would say, what are you reading and where's Jessica? So I pulled out a sheet of white paper. I went up to the desk and I asked for a piece of paper and I wrote down reading book. I flipped it over and I wrote not here. And so I would sit there and no shit, 18 more people walk by and they'd say, what are you reading? And I pull out this sheet of paper and I just slap it on the table and say reading book. And then they'd say, where's Jessica? And I'd flip it over and I would just point it not here. It literally happened like 15 times. And I don't say that as like it doesn't make me feel bad. I don't care about it. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It's just like, that's Jessica. Like everybody wanted to know, where's Jessica? She's so nice. She's so kind. She's so friendly. And if you haven't gotten to know me or you don't, like I can be a little bit of like an ass about things. I have a very, very dry sense of humor. Like I've got some good friends that are close friends, but most people are like, he's kind of an asshole. Like, why are you with that guy?
Oh shit.
But that would be my pony story.
She sees the real you.
Mm-hmm.
She sees the real you. I'd hang out with you, brother. I don't think you're an asshole, but who knows? Maybe September you say something. I'm like, damn it.
Hey, the golden rule, Andres. The man with the gold makes the rules. So as long as I'm paying for these advertisements 3 times,
as long as you're feeding my dogs. As long as you're feeding my dogs.
As long as Goku is fed, we're good, man.
That's right. We got a second dog, by the way.
I heard. I can't remember his name.
It's a girl. It's Bulma. It's Goku's best friend on the TV show that he's named after. So yeah.
I know who Goku
awesome.
is, but I can't say I know a whole lot about Dragon Ball Z.
Hey, nobody's perfect, man. It's okay. So, hey, that's a great pony story, though. I mean, it has to be like if you know Jessica, of course, it has to be the pony story. Like, and if you don't know Jessica, of course, it has to be your wife. Like, that makes sense. Because I mean, hell, you got 3 kiddos. And then the new one, congratulations on the one that's on the way. That's amazing that you got a cool family going, and you're making it work where you're at, my brother. So super awesome, super honored to have you on the show, and happy that we're working together. And I'm glad that it's bearing fruit for you. That the investment into our show, is also paying off. Good dividends, hopefully for you back in the as a company. So that's awesome. That is awesome.
Absolutely. And
that's crazy.
It's great. And I wanted to kind of plug you guys as well. Like, I don't know how many of my buddies or people listening to the show will know, but like, I understand most people listening to the show may or may not have a life goal of selling final expense life insurance, but there's a lot of other sponsors on the show. Like, I think what you're doing with connecting alumni is great. Like, if you run your own business, if you run your own company, if you want to try to get introduced to, some Southwestern people, get in touch with Andres, get in touch with Nick Taverdi, get in touch with these guys. It may or may not end up being a good fit. There's not any advertising space because I already bought it all, but these guys are the real deal. I think having the network is great. I mean, a lot of these guys that I get to know and get to meet on the Derby meetings, like y'all have some awesome sponsors. Like every time we get on the Derby meeting, I feel like it's really good information that gets put out, really good content. You guys have put together a kind of a pretty badass podcast with a cool following.
Man, thank you so much. I appreciate that. We didn't pay you for that. That's organic.
I want my rebate check, Andres.
That's a discount. That's a discount coming that way. But yeah, man, I appreciate the love, and it's crazy to think we started this as a hobby and now we're doing this thing, and it's a business, and it's running and it's growing. We have a plan for it to scale, and we have a plan for it to grow and become bigger than just a show. That hopefully people who sold books can come find it and still love it and get a lot of things out of it. But also even people who didn't sell, who might be like, what the hell is, if people get into Tiger King and they never own a tiger or know anything about it, it's like this obscure cool thing, then they can get into something this crazy too. So either way, I've had a blast. Hopefully you had a good time. And I am very thankful for having you on the show. If people want to get a hold of you, that's it. That's what I was drinking. Here we go. If you guys want to get a hold, again, you guys can click on the link below or just message us, leave a comment. We can get you in touch with any of our sponsors or Quentin to see or learn more about the opportunity that they have over at Cardinal Senior Benefits. If you guys want to give us a couple of announcements, we have some feedback forms that are going to be coming out. They're going to be public, but actually by the time this airs, probably should have already been public, but keep filling that out. It really helps us grow the show. And anything that you guys, whether episodes are too long, too short, not enough, not deep enough, any questions you want us to ask, segments you think, cool ideas that you think would be awesome for the show. I'm not saying that we're going to take them, but we will read them, and we will for sure take the stuff that we think would help us grow towards our mission of growing the network and becoming the network. Then for sure that would be the great way to do it. Make sure you guys sign up for Bizler, and make sure you guys follow us along on all social medias. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give us a review. If you have, that'd be amazing for that, for growing in that platform for sure. So check out our shorts that are coming out every week now. And on that note, we'll leave you guys later. My name is Andres Gamboa. We've been with Quintin Roberts. See you guys on the next one. Peace.